I don't think I'll ever learn what my own schedule is. The last time we were reading All Quiet on the Western Front. We finished the first 6 chapters. It was really dark and it's heavy, and it describes a lot of horrible things happening. So it's a very interesting book, if not a fun book. The characters we are following, the soldiers, in the beginning of the story, seems like they have seen some action already, and they have just come back from losing like 80 men in their company, or they're down to 80 in a company of 100 from 150 soldiers. They were celebrating, if you can believe it, because the rations, I never get that word correct, and my friends always pick at me. They seem to get very angry. So I refuse to learn. It's more entertaining for me that way. But they basically got double portions of all the things that they want. And we kind of moved on from there. And we start with a bit of the soldier's life, how things are in the quieter regions. There's always warplanes and shelling happening in and around you. You're not far enough from the front lines to be totally safe, but you are, you're not on the actual front line. So you're a little more, you're comparatively relaxed, and you enjoy odd things like holes in the ground that you can sit over and poop while you play cards with your comrades, your friends. And they talk about the recruits coming in and how it's very awkward for them to do this kind of thing. They haven't been there for a little while. They haven't acclimated to this life and this adjusting of values. What is important? Is it worth being, embarrassed by various biological functions and their attitudes towards that shifting? I thought that was kind of more interesting. And the idea that someone could be sitting in chat and going like, wow, that's a gross thing to be interested about, is kind of the interesting part. If you think about it, you're basically, I don't know, I want to say telling on yourself that you're not a soldier, nor am I, obviously. But it's like the soldier would sit there and could tell that you aren't a soldier. You haven't gone through that. That's a unique experience that identifies them. And it's something that is learned. Basically, I guess through necessity, certain not through volunteering for it, I suppose. And we learned a little bit about what it's like to be a soldier. And then they had some duties. All throughout this there is conflict between the soldiers and some of the commissioned officers. There is, and you really see kind of the sort of, what's it called? The power, the abuse of power is a better phrase for it than that. Little man, big power syndrome. Little man syndrome, going on a power imbalance. No, it's like you go on, you get carried away with something. A power rush maybe. They get intoxicated with their own power. They feel, they're in the middle, right? So they get power trip. Thank you. They go into a little power trip, and they have to exercise that power in brutal fashion on the lower ranked peons, because they're copying it from the top a little bit. They need to pass that on to make themselves big and strong, and you get a little bit of that. Only there's a little bit of comeuppance, right? And later on, the drill sergeant or what's the rank after private? Corporal, literally a corporal, is giving them shit and holding it over them. Ended up in the field with them and kind of got his a little bit. Interesting how the difference between the front line and the so-called parade ground, things that really flip on their heads. And that's kind of illustrated a fair bit. It's interesting. And we go from this space of the soldier's life just behind the front lines, and we move into duties, right? They have to do something. They are trucked up to the front line to do some work. And in this particular case, they were laying down, I guess, barbed wire fencing. And at the same time, they have to deal with shells raining down somewhere amongst their ranks, their line. And they're stuck there for quite a while. They're doing the work. It takes a few hours. And eventually the trucks come up a little before dawn and take them home. And even though they weren't involved in any sort of like firefight or action, it really seems like the artillery and the shelling play the dominant role in the terror that they go through and experience whilst doing their work. And that kind of was part of it. Got worse next time. Kind of the final scene that we were left with, the chapter that kind of went on a little longer than we expected. They were called up to the front lines because a massive offensive was being planned or expected. And they went up there, and new recruits were brought with them, and we learned a little bit about how the new recruits are like how the veterans were trying to help the new recruits, teach them, learn them, and how all of that flies from their mind the second the shells start to land amongst them. And yeah, we learned a little bit about how devastating that is. I guess kind of the idea, no plan survives, the first gunshot or the first shell or something kind of idea, right? You can plan all you want, but as soon as the engagement begins, your plans are guidelines at best. Yeah, and that was where we ended up. They went up about 150 strong with their new recruits. There was a lot of back and forth action, a lot of grenades. The French attacked and then they pushed back, and this went on for a few months, I believe. I think the idea was it was about a season before they were finally brought back, and they came back with 32 soldiers in their company. Spring to autumn, yeah, something like that. So that'd be half a year then. Back and forth, just pushing into the enemy, retreating from their advances. Gas assault, was that when they were using mustard gas, or was it something else? It might be mustard gas. Artillery, friendly fire from artillery, because the barrels were not maintenance properly, couldn't be maintenance or replaced properly. Yeah. Learning, realizing the new soldiers dying to the mustard gas because they'd look around, see everyone taking their masks off, but they were in a pit where the mustard gas settled and took longer to decompose and take their mask off, and then they would die choking on their own lungs as they liquefied. Yeah. Also, desperate things like, oh, we've pushed the French back or whomever we're attacking, and when it comes time for us to retreat from this position, raid the bunkers for the meat. So they had better provisions. Life and death situations, bombs exploding, and on your way back, don't forget to grab the food. War is horrific. It's not a new statement, but goodness, really sets the mood for tonight's continuation, which I suppose we should get started with. Chapter 7. They have taken us farther back than usual to a field depot so that we can be reorganized. Our company needs more than 100 reinforcements. In the meantime, when we are off duty, we loaf around. After a couple of days, Himmelstas comes up to us. He has had the bounce knocked out of him since he has been in the trenches and wants to get on good terms with us. I am willing enough, because I saw how he brought Westhus in when he was hit in the back. Besides, he's decent enough to treat us at the canteen when we are out of funds. Only to Jaden is still reserved and suspicious. That makes sense. He tormented to Jaden quite a bit in the past. But he is won over, too, when Himmelstas tells us that he has taken the place of Sergeant Cook, who has gone on leave. As a proof, he produces on the spot 2 pounds of sugar for us and a half pound of butter specially for Jaden. He even sees to it that we are detailed the next 2 or 3 days to the cookhouse for potato and turnip peeling. The grub he gives us there is real officer's fare. I guess he learned that the soldiers around you have to be on the same team. Maybe he should have come up here sooner. Maybe no one should come up here. Thus for the moment, we have the 2 things a soldier needs for contentment: good food and rest. That's not much when one comes to think of it. A couple of years ago, we would have despised ourselves terribly, but now we are quite happy. It is all a matter of habit, even the front line. Habit is the explanation of why we seem to forget things so quickly. Yesterday we were under fire. Today we act the fool and go foraging through the countryside. Tomorrow we go up to the trenches again. We forget nothing, really. But so long as we have to stay here in the field, the front line days, when they are the past, sink down in us like a stone. They are too serious for us to be able to reflect on them at once. If we did that, we should have been destroyed long ago. I soon found out this much. Terror can be endured so long as a man simply ducks. But it kills if a man thinks about it. Just as we turn into animals when we go up to the line, because that is the only thing which brings us through safely. So we turn into wags and loafers when we are out resting. We can do nothing else. It is a sheer necessity. We want to live at any price, so we cannot burden ourselves with feelings which, though they might be ornamental enough in peacetime, would be out of place here. Remarque is dead. Westless is dying. They will have a job with Hans Kramer's body at the Judgment Day, piecing it together after our direct hit. Martins has no legs anymore. Mayer is dead. Max is dead. Bayer is dead. Oh, there's a mayor and a bear. Hammerling is dead. There are 120 wounded men laying somewhere or other. It is a damnable business. But what has it to do with us now? We live. If it were possible for us to save them, then it would be seen how much we cared. We would have shot at it we would have a shot at it, though we went under ourselves. For we can be damned, oh dear, quixotic. I'm going to say, for we can be damned quixotic when we like. Fear we do not know much about. Terror of death, yes, but that is a different matter. That is physical. But our comrades are dead. We cannot help them. They have their rest, and who knows what is waiting for us. We will make ourselves comfortable and sleep, and eat as much as we can stuff into our bellies, and drink and smoke so that the hours are not wasted. Life is short. And I have a ding phone. Oh, there is a certain someone who is going to stream tonight. That's lovely. I am going to set this to do not disturb nonetheless. And then shoulder my microphone. The terror of the front sinks deep down when we turn our backs upon it. We make grim, coarse jests about it. When a man dies, then we say he had nipped off his turd. And so we speak of everything. That keeps us from going mad. As long as we take it that way, we maintain our own resistance. But we do not forget. It's all rot that they put in the war news about the good humor of the troops. How they are arranging dances almost before they are out on the front line. We don't act like that because we are in a good humor. We are in a good humor because otherwise we should go to pieces. If it were not so, we could not hold out much longer. Our humor becomes more bitter every month. And this I know. All these things that now, while we are still in the war, sink down in us like a stone, after the war shall waken again, and then shall begin the disentanglement of life and death. The days, the weeks, the years out here shall come back again, and our dead comrades shall then stand up again and march with us. Our heads shall be clear. We shall have a purpose. And so we shall march, our dead comrades beside us, the years at the front behind us. Against whom? Against whom? That was a question at the end. Some time ago, there was an army theater in these parts. Colored posters of the performances are still sticking on a hoarding. With wide eyes, Crop and I stand in front of it. We can hardly credit that such things still exist. A girl in a light summer dress with a red patent leather belt about her hips. She is standing with one hand on a railing, and with the other she holds a straw hat. She wears white stockings and white shoes, fine buckle shoes with high heels. Behind her smiles a blue lake with white horses, and at the side is a bright bay. She is a lovely girl with a delicate nose, red lips, and slender legs, wonderfully clean and well cared for. She certainly bathes twice a day and never has any dirt under her nails. At most, perhaps, a bit of sand from the beach. Beside her stands a man in white trousers, a blue jacket, and sailor's cap, but he interests us much less. No wonder, no kidding. The girl on the poster is a wonder to us. We have quite forgotten that there are such things, and even now we hardly believe our eyes. We have seen nothing like it for years, nothing like it for happiness, beauty, and joy. That is peacetime. That is as it should be. We feel excited. Just look at those thin shoes, though. She couldn't march many miles in those, I say, and then begin to feel silly, for it is absurd to stand in front of a picture like this and think of nothing but marching. How old would she be? Crop asks. About 22 at the most, I hazard. Then she would be older than us. She is not more than 17, let me tell you. Sorry, she is not more than 17, let me tell you. It gives us goose flesh. That would be good, Albert. What do you think? He nods. I have some white trousers at home, too. White trousers, say I. But a girl like that. We look askance at one another. There's not much to boast of here. 2 ragged, stained, and dirty uniforms. It is hopeless to compete. So we proceed to tear the young man with the white trousers off the hoarding, taking care not to damage the girl. That is something towards it. The thought process is quite entertaining. We could go and get deloused anyways, Crop then suggests. I am not very enthusiastic because it doesn't do one's clothes any good, and a man is lousy again inside 2 hours. But when we have considered the pictures once more, I declare myself willing. I even go further. We might see if we could get a clean shirt as well. Socks might be better, says Albert, not without reason. Yes, socks too, perhaps. Let's go and explore a bit. Then Lear and Jaden stroll up. They look at the poster and immediately the conversation becomes smutty. Lear was the first of our class to have intercourse, and he gave stirring details of it. After his fashion, he enjoys himself over the picture, and Jaden supports him nobly. It does not distress us exactly. Who isn't smutty is no soldier. It merely does not suit us at the moment. So we edge away and march off to the delousing station with the same feeling as if it were a swell gentleman's outfitters. The houses in which we are billeted lay near the canal. On the other side of the canal, there are ponds flanked with poplars. On the other side of the canal, there are women too. The houses on our side have been abandoned. On the other side, though, one occasionally sees inhabitants. In the evening, we go swimming. 3 women come strolling along the bank. They walk slowly and don't look away, although we have no bathing suits. That's why they're not looking away, friend. Lear calls out to them. They laugh and stop to watch us. We fling remarks at them in broken French, anything that comes into our heads, hastily and all jumbled together, anything to detain them. They are not specially wonderful pieces, but then where are such to be had about here? There is one slim brunette. Her teeth gleam when she laughs. She has quick movements. Her dress swings loosely about her legs. Although the water is cold, we are very jovial and do our best to interest them so that they will stay. We try to make jokes, and they answer with things we cannot understand. We laugh and beckon. Jaden is more crafty. He runs into the house, gets a loaf of army bread, and holds it up. That produces a great effect. They nod and beckon us to come over, but we don't dare to do that. It is forbidden to cross to the opposite bank. There are sentries on all the bridges. It's impossible without a pass. So we indicate that they should come over to us, but they shake their heads and point to the bridge. They are not allowed to pass either. They turn away and walk slowly down the canal, keeping along the towpath all the way. We accompany them, swimming. After a few 100 yards, they turn off and point to a house that stands a little distance away among the trees and shrubbery. Lear asks if they live there. They laugh. Sure, that's their house. We call out to them that we would like to come, sometime when the guards cannot see us at night, tonight. They raise their hands, put them together, rest their faces on them, and shut their eyes. They understand. The slim brunette does a 2-step. The blonde girl twitters. Bread, good. She didn't tweet, just for the record. That's not tweeting. There's no internet yet. Eagerly, we assure them that we will bring some with us. And other tasty bits, too. We roll our eyes and try to explain with our hands. Lear nearly drowns trying to demonstrate a sausage. If it were necessary, we would promise them a whole quartermaster's store. They go off and frequently turn and look back. We climb out on the bank on our side of the canal and watch to see whether they go into the house, for they might easily have been lying. Then we swim back. No one can cross the bridge without leave, so we will simply have to swim over at night. We are full of excitement. We cannot last out without a drink, so we go to the canteen where there's beer and a kind of punch. I gotta sit up. We drink punch and tell one another lying tales of our experiences. Each man gladly believes the other man's story, only waiting impatiently till he can cap it with a taller one. Our hands are fidgety. We smoke countless cigarettes until Crop says, we might as well take them a couple of cigarettes too. So we put some inside our capes to keep them. The sky turns apple green. There are 4 of us, but only 3 can go. We must shake off to Jaden, so ply him with rum and punch until he rocks. As it turns dark, we go to our billets, to Jaden in the center. We are all glowing and full of a lust for adventure. The little brunette is mine. We settled that by cutting for her. Jaden drops on his sack of straw and snores. Once he wakes up and grins so craftily that we are alarmed and begin to think he is cheating, and that we have given him the punch to no purpose. Then he drops back again and sleeps on. We each get hold of a whole army loaf and wrap it up in newspaper. The cigarettes we put in, too, as well as 3 good rations of liver sausage that were issued to us this evening. That makes a decent present. We stow the things carefully in our boots. We have to take them to protect our feet against treading on wire and broken glass on the other bank. As we must swim for it, we can take no other clothes, but it is not far, and quite dark. We make off with our boots in our hands. Swiftly we slip into the water, lie on our backs, and swim, holding the boots with their contents up over our heads. We climb out carefully on the opposite bank, take out the packages, and put on our boots. We put the things under our arms, and so all wet and naked, clothed only in our boots, we break into a trot. We find the house at once. It lies among the trees. Lear trips over a root and skins his elbows. No matter, he says gaily. You couldn't take, like, a blanket or, like a coat? Some pants? Like, anyways. Like a towel. Take a towel. Like, you gotta be, like, they must be shivering like crazy. The windows are shuttered. We slip round the house and try to peer through the cracks. Then we grow impatient. Suddenly, Crop hesitates. What if there's a major in with them? Then we just clear off, grins Lear. You can try to read our regimental numbers here. And smacks his behind. The door of the courtyard stands open. Our boots make a great clatter. The house door opens. A chink of light shines through, and a woman cries out in a scared voice. Shh, comrade, bon ami, we say, and show her our packages protestingly. The other 2 are now on the scene. The door opens wide, and the light floods over us. They recognize us, and all 3 burst into laughter at our appearance. They rock and sway in the doorway. They laugh so much. How supple their movements are. Un moment. They disappear and throw us bits of clothing which we gladly wrap round ourselves. Then we venture in. A small lamp burns in the room, which is warm and smells a little of perfume. We unwrap our parcels and hand them over to the women. Their eyes shine. It is obvious that they are hungry. Then we all become rather embarrassed. Lear makes the gestures of eating, and then they come to life again and bring out plates and knives and fall onto the food. They hold up every slice of liver sausage and admire it before they eat it, and we sit proudly by. They overwhelm us with their chatter. We understand very little of it, but we listen, and the words sound friendly. No doubt we all look very young. The little brunette strokes my hair and says what all the Frenchwomen say. La guerre, grand malheur, pauvres garçons. That's the best I'm going to do with French, I tell you. I hold her arm tightly and press my lips into the palm of her hand. Her fingers close around my face. Close above me are her bewildering eyes, the soft brown of her skin, and her red lips. Her mouth speaks words I do not understand, nor do I fully understand her eyes, but they seem to say more than we anticipated when we came here. Type it in chat. I can copy paste it, I guess. There you go. That's what the book says. Aguirre. Grand malheur. The war is very bad, poor boys. Oh. Oh, okay, Vanana, you can translate it. So garçons is boys, presumably. Yes. I do not know French when I was a boy. In primary school or elementary school, I forget if that's the Canadian or Australian version of it, whatever, earlier days, the grade school. We were supposed to do French class, but yeah, I think it was before I had my glasses. I couldn't see the blackboard, and the French teacher was just, she would just write words up on the blackboard, and just, we had like 6 or 8 across the entire classroom, And by the time she filled up the 8th one, I was on like maybe the 3rd or 4th. We had to copy them down, right? Then she started erasing the first one, so I didn't even write down half the words before she was erasing the board, so I just gave up. I hold her arm tightly and press my lips. No, we did this part already, didn't we? Yes. They seem to say more than we anticipated when we came here. There are other rooms adjoining. In passing, I see Lear. He has made a great hit with the blonde, and he knows it too. But I am lost in remoteness, in weakness, and in a passion to which I yield myself trustingly. My desires are strangely compounded of yearning and misery. I feel giddy. There is nothing here that a man can hold on to. We have left our boots at the door. They have given us slippers instead, and now nothing remains to recall for me the assurance and self-confidence of the soldier. No rifle, no belt, no tunic, no cape. No cap. I let myself drop into the unknown, come what may. Yet, in spite of all, I feel somewhat afraid. The little brunette contracts her brows when she is thinking, but when she talks, they are still. And often the sound does not quite become a word, but suffocates or floats away over me half finished, an arch, a pathway, a comet. What have I known of it? What do I know of it? The words of this foreign tongue that I hardly understand, they caress me into a quietness, in which the room grows dim and dissolves in the half-light, and only the face above me lives and is clear. How various is the face! But an hour ago it was strange, and now it is touched with a tenderness that comes not from it, but out of the night. The world and the blood, all these things seem to shine in it together. The objects in the room are touched by it and transformed. They become isolated, and I feel almost awed at the sight of my clear skin when the light of the lamp falls upon it and the cool brown hand passes over it. How different all this is from the conditions in the soldiers' brothels, to which we are allowed to go, and where we have to wait in long queues. I wish I never thought of them, but desire turns my mind to them involuntarily, and I am afraid, for it might be impossible ever to be free of them again. But then I feel the lips of the little brunette and press myself against them. My eyes close, and I let it all fall from me, war and terror and grossness, in order to awaken young and happy. I think of the picture of the girl on the poster and, for a moment, believe that my life depends on winning her. And if I press ever deeper into the arms that embrace me, perhaps a miracle may happen. So, after a time, we find ourselves reassembled again. Lear is in high spirits. We pull on our boots and take our leave warmly. The night air cools our hot bodies. The rustling poplars loom large in the darkness. The moon floats in the heavens and in the waters of the canal. We do not run. We walk beside one another with long strides. "That was worth a ration loaf," says Lear. I cannot trust myself to speak. I am not in the least happy. Then we hear footsteps and dodge behind a shrub. The steps come near. Close by us, we see a naked soldier in boots, just like ourselves. He has a package under his arm and gallops onward. It is to Jaden in full course. He has disappeared already. We laugh. In the morning, he will curse us. Poor bastard. Unobserved, we arrive again at our sacks of straw. A successful night raid of the other side of the canal. I am called to the orderly room. The company commander gives me a leave pass and a travel pass and wishes me a good journey. I look to see how much leave I have got. 17 days. 14 days leave and 3 days for traveling. It is not enough, and I ask whether I cannot have 5 days for traveling. Bertnick points to my pass. There I see that I am not to return to the front immediately. After my leave, I have to report for a course of training to a camp on the moors. The others congratulate me. Cat gives me good advice and tells me I ought to try to get a base job. If you're smart, you'll hang on to it, he says. I would rather have not gone for another 8 days. We are to stay here that much longer, and it is good here. Naturally, sorry, my throat. It's collecting something. I would rather not have gone for another 8 days. We are to stay here that much longer, and it is good here. Naturally, I have to stand the others' drinks at the canteen. We are all a little bit drunk. I become gloomy. I will be away for 6 weeks. That is lucky, of course, but what may happen before I get back? Shall I meet all these fellows again? Already I has gone. Who will the next be? As we drink, I look at each of them in turn. Albert sits beside me and smokes. He is silent. We have always been together. Opposite squats Cat with his drooping shoulders, his broad thumb and calm voice. Mueller with the protruding teeth and the booming laugh. To Jaden with his mousy eyes. Lear, who has grown a full beard and looks at least 40. Yeah, I guess you're going to come back at some point. You want to know if you have any friends left. Over us hangs a dense cloud of smoke. Where would a soldier be without tobacco? The canteen is his refuge, and beer is far more than a drink. It is a token that a man can move his limbs and stretch in safety. We do it ceremonially. We stretch our legs out in front of us and spit deliberately. That is the only way. How it all rises up before a man when he is going away the next morning. Oh, hello, Neff. It's been a little while. Nice to see you, friend. You were streaming today. I hope that went well. We're reading a bit of a heavier tale today. At night, we go again to the other side of the canal. I am almost afraid to tell the little brunette that I am going away, and when I return, we will certainly be far away from here. We will never see one another again. But she merely nods and takes no special notice. At first, I am at a loss to understand, and then it suddenly dawns on me. Yes, Lear is right. If I were going up to the front, then she would have again called me Pauvre Garça, poor boy. Yes, in French, she says, poor boy. Did we cancel French at one point in time? Maybe we should cancel French. But merely going on leave, she does not want to hear about that. That is not nearly so interesting. May she go to the devil with her chattering talk. A man dreams of a miracle and wakes up to loaves of bread. Nope and no? Okay, alright, we won't cancel French. Next morning, after I have been deloused, I go to the railhead. Albert and Cat come with me. At the halt, we learn that it will be a couple of hours yet before the train leaves. The other two have to go back to duty. We take leave of one another. Good luck, Cat. Good luck, Albert. They go off and wave once or twice. Their figures dwindle. I know their every step and movement. I would recognize them at any distance. Then they disappear. I sit down on my pack and wait. Suddenly, I become filled with a consuming impatience to be gone. I lie down on many a station platform. I stand before many a soup kitchen. I squat on many a bench. Then, at last, the landscape becomes gloomy, mysterious and familiar. It glides past the western windows with its villages, their thatched roofs like caps, pulled over the whitewashed, half-timbered houses, its cornfields gleaming like mother of pearl in the slanting light, its orchards, its barns, and old lime trees. The names of the stations begin to take on meaning, and my heart trembles. The train stamps and stamps onward. I stand at the window and hold on to the frame. These names mark the boundaries of my youth. Smooth meadows, fields, farmyards. A solitary team moves against the skyline along the road that runs parallel to the horizon. A barrier, before which peasants stand waiting, girls waving, children playing on the embankment, roads leading into the country, smooth roads without artillery. It is evening, and if the train did not rattle, I should cry out. The plain unfolds itself. In the distance, the soft blue silhouette of the mountain ranges begins to appear. I recognize the characteristic outline of the Dolbenberg, a jagged comb springing up precipitously from the limit of the forests. Behind it should lie the town. Behind it should falsehood the town, yes. But now the sun streams through the world, dissolving everything in its golden red light. The train swings round one curve and then another. Far away in the long line, one behind the other, stand the poplars, unsubstantial, swaying and dark, fashioned out of shadow, light, and desire. The field swings round as the train encircles it, and the intervals between the trees diminish. The trees become a block, and for a moment I see one only. Then they reappear from behind the foremost tree and stand out, a long line against the sky, until they are hidden by the first houses. A street crossing. I stand at the window, cannot drag myself away. The others put their baggage ready for getting out. I repeat to myself the name of the street that we cross over. Bremerstrasse. Bremerstrasse. We can pause there. We have ads coming in. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to stand up, stretch around. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay, let's see. Break over. Our friend just crossed over Bremerstrasse. A street, name of a street. Below there are cyclists, lorries, men. It is a great street and a great subway. Oh, hello Arashi. And Darkcast. It is a lovely book, yes. So far we are seeing a lot of nice landscapes. We're having a little holiday or vacation off to some training. Do you know why the author wrote the book? I know it wasn't for entertainment. It's to share, right? It was a bit of an autobio. He wanted to share what life as a soldier was like, and he paid the price for writing this book too. I'm pretty sure. Did he? Yeah, he got out of the country, right? The Germans took it as. I think they executed his sister for it. Isn't that right? I think that's what Valana told me. They executed his sister, and they sent the bill for the execution to his other sister as a consequence of his novel, of this story here. That's the kind of people not the soldiers, right? But that's the kind of leadership that are sending these soldiers written in this book to war in. Written to avoid committing early expiration. So, yeah, okay, I don't understand that one. I mean, I know what early expiration means, but yeah. But I like all that considered, I think it makes it a very important book. I keep saying, like, this is an interesting book rather than a fun or enjoyable book, right? I don't think you should enjoy this book, but I think you should respect it and be interested by it. I think that's why it's important. Yeah, an outlet for the feeling. That makes sure. Yep, absolutely, that makes sense. I wouldn't know. I've never been through this kind of thing, but I can dig that. Yep. And I suppose, if you've been through an experience like this, and you know exactly who's responsible for the experience, for these experiences, it elaborates that in the beginning of the book, right? It says, hey, this is only happening because rich, powerful men who are in their comfortable homes are sending us off to do their fighting for them, right? And you live through this kind of injustice. You would need that to be told to people. You can't just stand there and watch your friends die in that way and never have the story told. The book was written on what he felt he needed to express they couldn't express to people without offing themselves. Yeah, PTSD wasn't studied. It was called shell-shocked, which was kind of the best description they had for it, which was not an unfair description from what I read and been told. And we also understand a lot more about PTSD. Yeah, it's more than just war times, of course. It's any kind of trauma response. There's an interesting treatment for it now. It's basically you take an acid trip, a supervised acid trip. But apparently that really helps. You take the drug under supervision and with a trained person there, and they take you through your memories and in some way, shape, or fashion. I'm not sure how the process goes exactly, but it is apparently it helps. It helps you get it under control, so that rather than it controlling you, you can handle it. There's another drug, I don't know what it's called, I don't think it's the same one, but if you're going to go into a traumatic situation, you can take this drug and it dulls the memory of it. It doesn't become a traumatic memory. Yeah, it helps remove the connections to the emotions from the memories. Yeah, that rings a bell. That sounds sensible too. Like, if only we had these treatments, a few decades sooner. Yeah. Anyhow, we will proceed with our story. Thank you for joining. Then the train stops, and there is the station with noise and cries and sentries. I pick up my pack and fasten the straps. I take my rifle in my hand and stumble down the steps. On the platform, I look round. I know no one among all the people hurrying to and fro. The Red Cross sister offers me something to drink. I turn away. She smiles at me too foolishly, so obsessed with her own importance. Just look, I am giving a soldier coffee. She calls me comrade, but I will have none of it. Outside, in front of the station, the stream roars alongside the street. It rushes, foaming from the sluices of the mill bridge. There stands the old, square watchtower. In front of it, the great mottled lime tree, and behind it, the evening. Here we have often sat. How long ago it is. We have passed over this bridge and breathed the cool, acid smell of the stagnant water. We have leaned over the still water on this side of the lock, where the green creepers and weeds hang from the piles of the bridge. And on hot days we rejoiced in the spouting foam on the other side of the loch and told tales about our school teachers. I pass over the bridge. I look right and left. The water is as full of weeds as ever, and it still shoots over in gleaming arches. In the tower building, laundresses still stand with bare arms as they used to over the clean linen, and the heat from the ironing pours out through the open windows. Dogs trot along the narrow street. Before the doors of the houses, people stand and follow me with their gaze as I pass by, dirty and heavy laden. In this confectioner's we used to eat ices, and there we learned to smoke cigarettes. Walking down the street, I know every shop, the colonial warehouse, the chemists, the tobacconists. Then, at last, I stand before the brown door with its worn latch, and my hand grows heavy. I open the door, and a wonderful freshness comes out to meet me. My eyes are dim. The stairs creak under my boots. Upstairs, a door rattles. Someone is looking over the railing. It is the kitchen door that was opened. They are cooking potato cakes. The house reeks of it, and today, of course, is Saturday. That will be my sister leaning over. For a moment, I am shy and lower my head. Then I take off my helmet and look up. Yes, it is my eldest sister. "Paul," she cries, "Paul." I nod. My pack bumps against the banisters. My rifle is so heavy. She pulls the door open and calls, Mother, Paul is here." I can go no further. Mother, Paul is here." I lean against the wall and grip my helmet and rifle. I hold them as tight as I can, but I cannot take another step. The staircase fades before my eyes. I support myself with the butt of my rifle against my feet and clench my teeth fiercely, but I cannot speak a word. My sister's call has made me powerless. I can do nothing. I struggle to make myself laugh, to speak, but no word comes, and so I stand on the steps, miserable, helpless, paralyzed, and against my will the tears run down my cheeks. My sister comes back and says, "Why, what is the matter?" And I pull myself together and stagger onto the landing. I lean my rifle in a corner. I set my pack against the wall, place my helmet on it, and fling down my equipment and baggage. Then I say fiercely, "Bring me a handkerchief." She gives me one from the cupboard and I dry my face. Above me on the wall hangs the glass case with the colored butterflies that once I collected. Now I hear my mother's voice. My mother's voice. It comes from the bedroom. "Is she in bed?" I ask my sister. "She is ill," she replies. I go into her, give her my hand, and say as calmly as I can, "Here I am, Mother." She lies still in the dim light, and she asks anxiously, "Are you wounded?" I feel her searching glance. "No, I have got leave." My mother is very pale. I am afraid to make a light. Here I lie now, says she, and cry instead of being glad. "Are you sick, Mother?" I ask. I am going to get up a little today," she says, and turns to my sister, who is continually running to the kitchen to watch that the food does not burn. "And put out the jar of preserved whortleberries. You like that, don't you?" she asks me. "Yes, Mother. I haven't had any for a long time." "We might almost have known you were coming," laughs my sister. "There is just your favorite dish, potato cakes, and even whortleberries to go with them too." "And it is Saturday," I add. "Sit here beside me," says my mother. She looks at me. Her hands are white and sickly and frail compared with mine. We say very little, and I am thankful that she asks nothing. What ought I to say? Everything I could have wished for has happened. I have come out of it safely and sit here beside her. And in the kitchen stands my sister, making the evening bread and singing. Dear boy, says my mother softly. We were never very demonstrative in our family. Poor folk who toil and are full of cares are not so. It is not their way to protest what they already know. When my mother says to me, dear boy, it means much more than when another uses it. I know well enough that the jar of whortleberries is the only one they have had for months, and that she has kept it for me, and the somewhat stale cakes that she gives me too. She has taken a favorable opportunity of getting a few and has put them all by for me. I sit by her bed, and through the window the chestnut trees in the beer garden opposite glow in brown and gold. I breathe deeply and say over to myself, you are at home. You are at home. But a sense of strangeness will not leave me. I can find nothing of myself in all these things. There is my mother, there is my sister. There my case of butterflies, and there the mahogany piano, but I am not myself there. There is a distance, a veil between us. I go and fetch my pack to the bedside and turn out the things I have brought. A whole Edinburgh cheese that Cat provided me with, 2 loaves of army bread, 3/4 of a pound of butter, 2 tins of liver sausage, a pound of dripping, and a little bag of rice. I suppose you can make some use of that. They nod. It is pretty bad for food here, I inquire. Yes, there's not much. Did you get enough out there? I smile and point to the things I have brought. Not always quite so much as that, of course, but we fare reasonably well. Irna does not go out to bring in the food. Suddenly my mother seizes hold of my hand and asks falteringly, was it very bad out there, Paul? Mother, what should I answer to that? You would not understand and never realize it. And you never should realize it. Was it bad, you ask? You, mother. I shake my head and say, no, mother, not so very. There are always a lot of us together, and so it isn't so bad. Yes, but Heinrich Bredimeyer was here just lately, and he said it was terrible out there now, with the gas and all of the rest of it. It is my mother who says that. She says, with the gas and all of the rest of it. She does not know what she is saying. She is merely anxious for me. Should I tell her how we once found 3 enemy trenches with their garrison all stiff as though stricken with apoplexy? Oh dear. Apoplexy. Against the parapet, in the dugouts just where they were, the men stood and lay about with blue faces dead. No, mother, that's only talk, I answer. There's not very much in what Bredimeyer says. You see, for instance, I am well and fit. Before my mother's tremulous anxiety, I recover my composure. Now I can walk about and talk and answer questions without fear of having suddenly to lean against the wall because the world turns soft as rubber and my veins become brimstone. My mother wants to get up, so I go for a while to my sister in the kitchen. What is the matter with her? I ask. She shrugs her shoulders. She has been in bed 2 months now, but we do not want to write and tell you. Several doctors have been to see her. One of them said it's probably cancer again. Again. It's rough. I go to the district commandant to report myself. Slowly I wander through the streets. Occasionally someone speaks to me. I do not delay long, for I have little inclination to talk. On my way back from the barracks, a loud voice calls out to me. Still lost in thought, I turn round and find myself confronted by a major. "Can't you salute?" he blusters. Cornmandant? Oh, it looks like you wrote corn. My tongue is not working properly tonight. It's commandant. Commandant. Yeah, Commandant. 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 Yes, commandant. That's right. "Sorry, Major," I say in embarrassment. "I didn't notice you." "Don't you know how to speak properly?" he roars. I guess I didn't say that loudly enough. I would like to hit him in the face, but control myself, for my leave depends on it. I click my heels and say, "I did not see you, Herr Major." It's Air. It's Air Major. I remember. What was that? We watched. That show Allo Allo. They used hair a lot. Herr Major. "Then keep your eyes open," he snorts. "What is your name?" I give it. His fat red face is furious. "What regiment?" Hair's correct, yeah. I give him full particulars. Even yet he has not had enough. "Where are they?" But I have had more than enough and say, "Between Remarque and Bixtrut." "Eh?" he asks, a bit stupefied. I explained to him that I arrived on leave only an hour or two since, thinking that he would then trot along, but not at all. He gets even more furious. "You think you can bring your frontline manners here? What? Well, we don't stand that sort of thing. Thank God we have discipline here." 20 paces backwards, double march," he commands. I am mad with rage, but I cannot say anything to him. He could put me under arrest if he liked. So I double back and then march up to him. 6 paces from him, I spring to a stiff salute and maintain it until I am 6 paces beyond him. He calls me back again and affably gives me to understand that for once he is pleased to put mercy before justice. I pretend to be duly grateful. "Now, dismiss," he says. I turn about smartly and march off. That ruins the evening for me. I go back home and throw my uniform into a corner. I ought to have done that before. Then I take out my civilian clothes from the wardrobe and put them on. I still feel awkward. The suit is rather tight and short. I have grown in the army. Collar and tie give me some trouble. In the end, my sister ties the bow for me. But how light the suit is. It feels as though I had nothing on but a shirt and underpants. I look at myself in the glass. It is a strange sight. A sunburnt, overgrown candidate for confirmation gazes at me in astonishment. My mother is pleased to see me wearing civilian clothes. It makes me less strange to her. But my father would rather I kept my uniform on so that he could take me to visit his acquaintances. But I refuse. It is pleasant to sit quietly somewhere. In the beer garden, for example, under the chestnuts by the skittle alley. The leaves fall down on the table and on the ground. Only a few, the first. A glass of beer stands in front of me. I have learned to drink in the army. The glass is half empty, but there are still a few good swigs ahead of me. And besides, I can always order a second and a third if I wish to. There are no bugles and no bombardments. The children of the house play in the skittle alley, and the dog rests his head against my knee. The sky is blue. Between the leaves of the chestnuts rises the green spire of St. Margaret's Church. This is good. I like it. But I cannot get on with the people. My mother is the only one who asks no questions. Not so my father. He wants me to tell him about the front. He is curious in a way that I find stupid and distressing. I no longer have any real contact with him. There is nothing he likes more than just hearing about it. I realize he does not know that a man cannot talk of such things. I would do it willingly, but it is too dangerous for me to put these things into words. I am afraid they might then become gigantic, and I be no longer able to master them. What would become of us if everything that happens out there were quite clear to us? So I confine myself to telling him a few amusing things. He wants to know whether I have ever had a hand-to-hand fight. I say, no, and get up to go out. But that does not mend matters. After I have been startled a couple of times in the street by the screaming of the tram cars, which resembles the shriek of a shell coming straight for one, somebody taps me on the shoulder. It is my German master, and he fastens on me with the usual question. Well, how are things out there? Terrible. Terrible, eh? Yes, it is dreadful, but we must carry on. And after all, you do at least get decent food out there, so I hear. You look well, Paul, and fit. Naturally, it's worse here. Naturally. The best for our soldiers every time. That goes without saying. He drags me along to a table with a lot of others. They welcome me. A headmaster shakes hands with me and says, "So, you come from the front? What is the spirit like out there? Excellent, eh? Excellent?" I explain that no one would be sorry to be back home. He laughs uproariously. "I can well believe it, but first you have to give the froggies a good hiding. Do you smoke? Here, try one. Waiter, bring a beer as well for our young warrior." Unfortunately, I have accepted the cigar, so I have to remain. And they are all so dripping with goodwill that it is impossible to object. All the same, I feel annoyed and smoke like a chimney as hard as I can. In order to make at least some show of appreciation, I toss off the beer in one gulp. Immediately a second is ordered. People know how much they are indebted to the soldiers. They argue about what we ought to annex. The headmaster with the steel watch chain wants to have at least the whole of Belgium, the coal areas of France, and a slice of Russia. He produces reasons why we must have them and is quite inflexible until at last the others give in to him. Then he begins to expound just whereabouts in France the breakthrough must come, and turns to me. "Now, shove ahead a bit out there with your everlasting trench warfare. Smash through the Johnnies, and then there will be peace." I reply that in our opinion a breakthrough may not be possible. The enemy may have too many reserves. Besides, the war may be rather different from what people think. He dismisses the idea loftily and informs me I know nothing about it. "The details, yes," says he, "but this relates to the whole, and of that you are not able to judge. You see only your little sector, and so cannot have any general survey. You do your duty, you risk your lives, that deserves the highest honor. Every man, you ought to have the Iron Cross. But first of all, the enemy line must be broken through in Flanders, and then rolled up from the top." He blows his nose and wipes his beard. "Completely rolled up they must be, from the top to the bottom, and then to Paris." I would like to know just how he pictures it to himself, and pour the third glass of beer into me. Immediately he orders another. But I break away. He stuffs a few more cigars into my pocket and sends me off with a friendly slap. "All of the best. I hope we will soon hear something worthwhile from you." Worthwhile, he says. I imagined leave would be different from this. Indeed, it was different a year ago. It is I, of course, that have changed in the interval. There lies a gulf between that time and today. In that time I still knew nothing about the war, We had been only in quiet sectors, but now I see that I have been crushed without knowing it. I find I do not belong here anymore. It is a foreign world. Some of these people ask questions. Some ask no questions, but one can see that they are quite confident they know all about it. They often say so with their air of comprehension, so there is no point in discussing it. They make up a picture of it for themselves. I prefer to be alone so that no one troubles me, for they all come back to the same thing. How badly it goes and how well it goes. One thinks it is this way, another that, and yet they are always absorbed in the things that go to make up their own existence. Formerly I lived in just the same way myself, but now I feel no contact here any longer. They talk to me too much. They have worries, aims, desires that I cannot comprehend. I often sit with one of them in the little beer garden and try to explain to him that this is really the only thing. Just to sit quietly like this. They understand, of course, they agree. They may even feel it so too, but only with words. Only with words. Yes, that is it. They feel it, but always with only half of themselves. The rest of their being is taken up with other things. They are so divided in themselves that none feels it with his whole essence. I cannot even say myself exactly what I mean. When I see them here, in their rooms, in their offices, about their occupations, I feel an irresistible attraction in it. I would like to be here too and forget the war, but also it repels me. It is so narrow. How can that fill a man's life? He ought to smash it to bits. How can they do it? While out at the front on splinters are whining over the shell holes and the star shells go up, the wounded are carried back on waterproof sheets and comrades crouch in the trenches. They are different men here. Men I cannot properly understand, whom I envy and despise. I must think of Kat and Albert and Mueller and to Jaden. What will they be doing? No doubt they are sitting in the canteen or perhaps swimming. Soon they'll have to go up to the front line again. I think that gives me an appreciation for things like Legion halls, where veterans can congregate together. Because, yeah, I can definitely see living in something so radically different. And on top of that, perhaps trauma-inducing adds a lot to that too. Really would draw a divide between you and the rest of the world. Yeah, sit and just understand each other. And like, no one could understand them outside of their group. How could you? How could we? Right? It's just, and you need community that understands you. So yeah, no, I get that. I have a bigger appreciation for it. It makes a lot more sense, I guess. Not that I ever thought there shouldn't be, to be clear. Obviously, that's everyone's entitled to their own community one way or the other, but it kind of, if you sit back and think about it, I think those last few paragraphs give it more weight. Yeah, give it more weight. I'm gonna put air on, actually. I'm starting to get hot and heavy. There we go. Just another layer of why and what they might mean to the people there. Yeah. Yeah. In my room, behind the table, stands a brown leather sofa. I sit down on it. On the walls are pasted countless pictures that I once used to cut out of the newspapers. In between are drawings and postcards that have come my way. In the corner is a small iron stove. Against the wall opposite stand the bookshelves with my books. I used to live in this room before I was a soldier. The books I bought gradually with the money I earned by coaching. Many of them are second-hand. All the classics, for example. One volume in blue cloth boards. One volume in blue cloth boards cost 1 mark 20. What is a Pfennig? Pfennig. 1 mark 20. Is that supposed to be farthing? How do you pronounce that? I do not know all the currencies of the world, so we are going to pronounce this. No, it's not a farthing. It's Pfennig. Let's see what YouTube has to say. Okay, this is definitely an AI fucking channel. We're gonna kill this one. Block channel. Thank you very much. We don't do that shit here. No, thank you, Bob. It is Pfennig, though, according to that. Is this a better channel? Yeah, Pfennig. Blue cloth board is fabric covered hardcovers. That makes sense. Yeah, and that is Pfennig. 1 volume in blue cloth boards cost 1 mark 20 Pfennig. There, we have learned today. I bought them complete because I was thoroughgoing. That's one word. Yes, relearning. I did not trust the editors of selections, even though they may have chosen all the best. So I purchased only collected works. I read most of them with laudable zeal, but a few of them really appealed to me. I preferred the other books, the moderns, which were of course much dearer. A few I came by not quite honestly. I borrowed and did not return them because I did not want to part with them. Right? Don't loan him anything. He's that neighbor who borrows your lawnmower forever. One shelf is filled with school books. They are not so well cared for. They are badly thumbed, and pages have been torn out for certain purposes. Then below are periodicals, papers, and letters all jammed in together with drawings and rough sketches. I want to think myself back into that time. It is still in the room. I feel it at once. The walls have preserved it. My hands rest on the arms of the sofa. Now I make myself at home and draw up my legs so that I sit comfortably in the corner, in the arms of the sofa. The little window is open. Through it I see the familiar picture of the street with the rising spire of the church at the end. There are a couple of flowers on the table, pen holders, a shell as a paperweight, the inkwell. Here nothing has changed. It will be like this too, if I am lucky, when the war is over and I come back here for good. I will sit here, just like this, and look at my room and wait. I feel excited, but I do not want to be, for that is not right. I want that quiet rapture again. I want to feel the same powerful, nameless urge that I used to feel when I turned to my books. The breath of desire that then arose from the colored backs of the books shall fill me again, melt the heavy, dead lump of lead that lies somewhere in me, and waken again the impatience of the future, the quick joy in the world of thought. It shall bring back again the lost eagerness of my youth. I sit and wait. It occurs to me that I must go and see Kemmerich's mother. I might visit Mittelstadt too. Mittelstadt. That is a crazy word. Mittelstadt. We're going to go for that one. 2. He should be at the barracks. I look out of the window. Beyond the sober picture of the street appears a range of hills, distant and light. It changes to a clear day in autumn, and I sit by the fire with Kat and Albert and eat potatoes baked in their skins. But I do not want to think of that. I swept it away. The room shall speak. It must catch me up and hold me. I want to feel that I belong here. I want to hearken and know when I go back to the front that the war will sink down, be drowned utterly in the great homecoming tide. Know that it will then be past forever and not gnaw us continually, that it will have none but an outward power over us. The backs of the books stand in rows. I know them all still. I remember arranging them in order. I implore them with my eyes. Speak to me. Take me up. Take me, life of my youth. You who are carefree, beautiful, receive me again. I wait. I wait. Images float through my mind, but they do not grip me. They are mere shadows and memories. Nothing. Nothing. My disquietude grows. A terrible feeling of foreignness suddenly rises up in me. I cannot find my way back. I am shut out, though I entreat earnestly and put forth all my strength. Nothing stirs. Listless and wretched, like a condemned man, I sit there, and the past withdraws itself. And at the same time I fear to importune it too much, because I do not know what might happen then. I am a soldier. I must cling to that. Wearily, I stand up and look out of the window. Then I take one of the books, intending to read, and turn over the leaves. But I put it away and take out another. There are passages in it that have been marked. I look, turn over the pages, take up fresh books. Already they are piled up beside me. Speedily more join the heap. Papers, magazines, letters. I stand there dumb, as before a judge, dejected. Words, 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 they do not reach me. Slowly I place the books back in the shelves. Never more. Quietly I go out of the room. Still, I do not give up hope. I do not, indeed, go to my room anymore, but comfort myself with the thought that a few days are not enough to judge by. Afterwards, later on, there is plenty of time for that. So I go over to see Mittelstead in the barracks. It's Mittelstead. Indeed. It's a DT at the end. I love these names. I wish I had a better mouth for them. I go over to Mittelstead in the barracks, and we sit in his room. There is an atmosphere about it that I do not like, but with which I am quite familiar. Mittelstead has some news ready for me that electrifies me on the spot. He tells me Kantarak has been called up as a territorial. Just think of it, he says, or says he, and takes out a couple of good cigars. I come back here from the hospital and bump right into him. He stretches out his paw to me and bleats, "Hello, Mittelstedt, how are you?" I look at him and I say, "Territorial Kantarak, business is business and schnapps is schnapps. You ought to know that well enough yourself. Stand to attention when you speak to a superior officer." You should have seen his face, a cross between a dud and a pickled cucumber. He tried once again to chum up, so I snubbed him a bit harder. Then he brought up his biggest guns and asked confidently, "Would you like to see me use my influence so that you can take an emergency exam?" He was trying to remind me of those things, you know. Then I got mad, and I reminded him of something instead. "Territorial Kantarak, 2 years ago you preached us into enlisting, and among us there was one, Joseph Behem, who didn't want to enlist. He was killed 3 months before he would have been called up in the ordinary way. If it had not been for you, he would have lived just that much longer, and now, dismiss. You will hear from me later." It was easy to get put in charge of his company. First thing I did was to take him to the stores and fit him out with suitable equipment. You will see in a minute. Some comeuppance. That giant paragraph is all about comeuppance. We go out to the parade ground. The company has fallen in. Mittelstedt stands them at ease and inspects. Then I see Cantorek, and am scarcely able to stifle my laughter. He is wearing a faded blue tunic. On the back and in the sleeves there are big dark patches. The overcoat must have belonged to a giant. The black, worn breeches are just as much too short. They reach barely halfway down his calf. The boots, tough as old clog hoppers with turned-up toes and laces at the side, are much too big for him. But as a compensation, the cap is too small. At least it averages out. A terribly dirty, mean little piddle box. The whole rig-out is just pitiful. Mittelstadt stops in front of him. Territorial Cantorek, do you call those buttons polished? You seem as though you can never learn. Inadequate, Cantorek, quite inadequate. It makes me bubble with glee. In school, Cantorek used to chasten Mittelstadt with exactly the same expression. Inadequate, Mittelstadt, quite inadequate. Mittelstadt continues to upbraid him. Look at Bochner now. There's a model for you to learn from. These names, man, they're crazy. I can hardly believe my eyes. Bochner is there too. Bochner, our school porter. And he is a model. Cantorek shoots a glance at me as if he would like Cantorek shoots a glance at me as if he would like to eat me, but I grin at him innocently, as though I do not recognize him anymore. Nothing could look more ludicrous than his forage cap and his uniform. And this is the object before whom we used to stand in anguish, as he sat up there enthroned at his desk, spearing at us with his pencil for our mistakes in those irregular French verbs with which afterwards we made so little headway in France. That is barely 2 years ago, and now here stands Territorial Cantorek, the spell quite broken, with bent knees, arms like pothooks, unpolished buttons, and that ludicrous rig-out, an impossible soldier. I cannot reconcile this with the menacing figure at the schoolmaster's desk. I wonder what I, the old soldier, would do if this skin full of woe ever dared to say to me again, "Bomber, give the imperfect of Aller." Then Mittelstadt makes them practice skirmishing, and as a favor appoints Cantorek squad leader. Now in skirmishing, the squad leader has always to keep 20 paces in front of his squad. If the order comes on the march about turn, the line of skirmishers simply turns about. But the squad leader, who now finds himself suddenly 20 paces in rear of the line, has to rush up at the double and take his position again 20 paces in front of the squad. And that makes altogether 40 paces double march. But no sooner has he arrived than the order, "On the march about turn," comes again, and he once more has to race at top speed another 40 paces to the other side. In this way, the squad has made merely the turnabout in a couple of paces, while the squad leader dashes backwards and forwards like a fart on a certain pole. That is one of Himmelstoss's well-worn recipes. If we remember, Himmelstoss was the evil instructor from the first few chapters. I guess the drill sergeant equivalent, I guess. Cantorek can hardly expect anything else from Mittelstadt. For once he messed up the latter's chance of promotion, and Mittelstadt would be a big fool not to make the best of such a good opportunity as this, before he goes back to the front again. A man might well die easier after the army has given him just one such stroke of luck. In the meantime, Cantorek's dashing up and down like a wild boar. After a while, Mittelstadt stops the skirmish and begins the very important exercise of creeping. On hands and knees, carrying his gun in regulation fashion, Cantorek shoves his absurd figure over the sand immediately in front of us. He is breathing hard, and his panting is music. Mittelstadt encourages Cantorek the Territorial with quotations from Cantorek the schoolmaster. territorial Cantoric. We have the good fortune to live in a great age. We must all humble ourselves and for once put aside bitterness. Cantoric sweats and spits out a dirty piece of wood that has lodged in his teeth. Metalstead stoops down and says reproachfully, "And in the trifles never lose sight of the great adventure, territorial Cantoric." It amazes me that Cantoric does not explode with a bang, especially when, during physical exercises, Metalstead copies him to perfection, seizing him by the seat of his trousers as he is climbing along the horizontal bar, so that he can just raise his chin above the beam, and then starts to give him good advice. That is exactly what Cantoric used to do to him at school. The extra fatigues are next detailed off. Cantoric and Bochter, bread fatigue. Take the handcart with you. Bread fatigue. I do not understand this. In a couple of minutes, the two set off together, pushing the barrow. Cantoric, in a fury, walks with his head down, but the porter is delighted to have scored light duty. The bakehouse is always at the other end of the town, and the two must go there and back through the whole length of it. They've done that a couple of times already, grins Metalstead. There are still a few people waiting to see them. Excellent, I say. But hasn't he reported you yet? He did try. Arceo laughed like the deuce when he heard the story. He hasn't had any time for schoolmasters. Besides, I am sweet with his daughter. He'll mess up the examination for you. I don't care, says Metalstead calmly. Besides, his complaint came to nothing because I could show that he had hardly anything but light duty. Couldn't you polish him up a bit, I ask. He's too stupid. I couldn't be bothered, answers Metalstead contemptuously. I have noticed no one hydrates me when I'm reading the story. It's only when I'm in the middle of combat in one of the other games. Just a little observation that occurred to me. What is leave? A pause that only makes everything after it so much worse. Already the sense of parting begins to intrude itself. My mother watches me silently. I know she counts the days. Every morning she is sad. It is one day less. She has put away my pack. She does not want to be reminded by it. Oh, sorry, it's okay, I've been self-hydrating, it's quite alright. Okay, I can stand up and flex, I guess. Oh, you have like ads. Oh, I see what you're doing. That's hilarious. And hydrate and head pat things. You're bored now, aren't you? There you go. I hope you're not bored. You're overly occupied. Oh, where are we? Right. Mom has put the pack away. She doesn't want to be reminded by it. I can't blame her. The hours pass quickly if a man broods. I pull myself together and go with my sister to the butcher's to get a pound of bones. That is a great luxury, and people line up early in the morning, stand waiting, many of them faint. We have no luck. After waiting by turns for 3 hours, the queue disperses. The bones have not lasted out. It is a good thing I get my rations. I bring them to my mother, and in that way we all get something decent to eat. The days grow ever more strained, and my mother's eyes more sorrowful. 4 days left now. I must go and see Kemeric's mother. I cannot write that down. This quaking, sobbing woman who shakes me and cries out on me. Why are you living then when he is dead? Who drowns me in tears and calls out, what are you there for at all, child, when you... Who drops into a chair and wails. Did you see him? Did you see him then? How did he die? I tell her he was shot through the heart and died instantaneously. She looks at me. She doubts me. You lie. I know better. I have felt how terribly he died. I have heard his voice at night. I have felt his anguish. Tell the truth. I want to know it. I must know it. No, I say. I was beside him. He died at once. She pleads with me gently. Tell me. You must tell me. I know you want to comfort me, but don't you see? You torment me far more than if you told me the truth. I cannot bear the uncertainty. Tell me how it was, even though it will be terrible. It will be far better than what I have to think if you don't. I will never tell her. She can make mincemeat out of me first. I console her, but she strikes me as rather stupid all the same. Why doesn't she stop worrying? Emmerich will stay dead whether she knows about it or not. When a man has seen so many dead, he cannot understand any longer why there should be so much anguish over a single individual. So I say rather impatiently, he died immediately. He felt absolutely nothing at all. His face was quite calm. She is silent. Then she says slowly, will you swear it? Yes. By everything that is sacred to you. Good God, what is there that is sacred to me? Such things change pretty quickly with us. Yes, he died at once. Are you willing never to come back yourself? Or are you willing never to come back yourself if it isn't true? May I never come back if he wasn't killed instantaneously. I would swear to anything, but she seems to believe me. She moans and weeps steadily. I have to tell it. I have to tell how it happened, so I invent a story and almost believe it myself. As I leave, she kisses me and gives me a picture of him. In his recruit's uniform, he leans on a round, rustic table with legs made of birch branches. Behind him, a wood is painted on a curtain, and on the table stands a mug of beer. It is the last evening. That's a good spot to pause for these ads that are coming up. Nice little break in this section. We haven't even finished a chapter yet. We're already into our second hour. That's crazy. We're gonna take a little break. I'm gonna stand up again. I've had a break recently, but this is the thing we do. Thanks, Valana. We'll be back after 3 minutes. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Good. Adjust my chair's feet. There we go. It is the last evening at home. Everyone is silent. I go to bed early. I seize the pillow, press it against myself, and bury my head in it. Who knows if I will ever lay in a feather bed again. Late in the night, my mother comes into my room. She thinks I am asleep, and I pretend to be so. To talk, to stay awake with one another, it is too hard. She sits long into the night, although she is in pain and often writhes. At last I can bear it no longer, and pretend I have just wakened up. Go and sleep, mother. You will catch cold here. I can sleep enough later, she says. I sit up. I don't go straight back to the front, mother. I have to do 4 weeks at the training camp. I may come over from there one Sunday, perhaps. She is silent. Then she asks gently, are you very much afraid? No, mother. I would like to tell you to be on your guard against the women out in France. They are no good. Hear that, Valana? The women in France, they are no good. Probably French Canada too, just for the record. Mother, you still think I am a child. Why can I not put my head in your lap and weep? Why have I always been too strong and self-controlled? I would like to weep and be comforted, too. Indeed, I am little more than a child. In the wardrobe still hang my short and boy's trousers. It is such a little time ago. Why is it over? Where we are, there aren't any women, Mother, I say as calmly as I can. And be very careful at the front, Paul. Oh, Mother, Mother, why do I not take you in my arms and die with you? What poor wretches we are. Yes, Mother, I will. You're not in France, you just know France. Same thing. I will pray for you every day, Paul. Ah, Mother, Mother, let us rise up and go out, back through the years where the burden of all this misery lies on us no more, back to you and me alone, Mother. Perhaps you can get a job that is not so dangerous. Yes, Mother. Perhaps I can get into the cookhouse. That can easily be done. You do it then, and if the others say anything, that won't worry me, Mother. She sighs. Her face is a white gleam in the darkness. Now you must go to sleep, Mother. She does not reply. I get up and wrap my cover around her shoulders. She supports herself on my arm. She is in pain. And so I take her to her room. I stay with her a little while. And you must get well again, Mother, before I come back. Yes, my child. You ought not to send your things to me, Mother. We have plenty to eat out there. You can make much better use of them here. How destitute she lies there in her bed, she that loves me more than all the world. As I am about to leave, she says hastily, I have 2 pairs of underpants for you. They are all wool. They will keep you warm. You must not forget to put them in your pack. Ah, Mother, I know what these underpants have cost you in waiting and walking and begging. Ah, Mother, Mother, how can it be that I must part from you? Who else is there that has any claim on me but you? Here I sit and there you are lying, and we have so much to say that we could never say it. Good night, Mother. Good night, my child. The room is dark. I hear my mother's breathing and the ticking of the clock. Outside the window, the wind blows and the chestnut trees rustle. On the landing, I stumble over my pack, which lies there already made up, because I have to leave early in the morning. I bite into my pillow. I grasp the iron rods of my bed with my fists. I ought never to have come here. Out there I was indifferent and often hopeless. I will never be able to be so again. I was a soldier, and now I am nothing but an agony for myself, for my mother, for everything that is so comfortless and without end. I ought never to have come on leave. Chapter 8. At last. I already know the camp on the moors. It was here that Himmelstoss gave to Jaden his education, but now I know hardly anyone here. As ever, all is altered. There are only a few people that I have occasionally met before. I go through the routine mechanically. In the evenings I generally go to the soldiers' home where the newspapers are laid out, but which I do not read. Still, there is a piano there that I am glad enough to play on. 2 girls are in attendance. One of them is young. The camp is surrounded with high barbed wire fences. If we come back late from the soldiers' home, we have to show passes. But those who are on good terms with the guard can get through, of course. Between the junipers and the birch trees on the moor, we practice company drill each day. It is bearable if one expects nothing better. We advance at a run, fling ourselves down, and our panting breath moves the stalks of the grasses and the flowers of the heather to and fro. Looked at so closely, one sees the fine sand is composed of millions of the tiniest pebbles, as clear as if they had been made in a laboratory. A laboratory. It is strangely inviting to dig one's hands into it. But the most beautiful are the woods with their line of birch trees. Their color changes with every minute. Now the stems gleam purest white, and between them, airy and silken, hangs the pastel green of the leaves. The next moment, all changes to an opalescent blue as the shivering breezes pass down from the heights and touch the green lightly away. And again, in one place it deepens almost to black as a cloud passes over the sun. And the shadow moves like a ghost through the dim trunks and passes far out over the moor to the sky. Then the birches stand out again like gay banners on white poles, with the red and gold patches of autumn-tinted leaves. I often become so lost in the play of soft light and transparent shadow that I almost fail to hear the commands. When it is one alone, that one begins to observe nature and to love her. And here I have not so much companionship, and do not even desire it. We are too little acquainted with one another to do more than joke a bit and play poker or nap in the evenings. Alongside our camp is the big Russian prison camp. It is separated from us by a wire fence, but in spite of this the prisoners come across to us. They seem nervous and fearful, though most of them are big fellows with beards. They look like meek, scolded St. Bernard dogs. They slink about our camp and pick over the garbage tins. One can imagine what they find there. With us, food is pretty scarce, and none too good at that. Turnips cut into 6 pieces and boiled in water, and unwashed carrot tops. Moldy potatoes are titbits, and the chief luxury is a thin rice soup in which float little bits of beef sinew. But these are cut up so small that they take a lot of finding. Everything gets eaten, notwithstanding, and if ever anyone is so well off as to not want all his share, there are a dozen others standing by ready to relieve him of it. Only the dregs that the ladle cannot reach are tipped out and thrown into the garbage tins. Along with that, sometimes go a few turnip peelings, moldy bread crusts, and all kinds of muck. This thin, miserable, dirty garbage is the objective of the prisoners. They pick it out of the stinking tins greedily and go off with it under their blouses. It is strange to see these enemies of ours so close up. They have faces that make one think, honest peasant faces, broad foreheads, broad noses, broad mouths, broad hands, and thick hair. They ought to be put to threshing, reaping, and apple picking. They look just as kindly as our own peasants in Friesland. It is distressing to watch their movements, to see them begging for something to eat. They are all rather feeble, for they only get enough nourishment to keep them from starving. Ourselves, we have not had sufficient to eat for long enough. They have dysentery. Furtively, many of them display the blood-stained tails the blood-stained tails of their shirts. Their backs, their necks are bent, their knees sag, their heads droop as they stretch out their hands and beg in the few words of German that they know. Beg with those soft, deep, musical voices that are like warm stoves in cozy rooms at home. Some men there are who give them a kick. Some men there are who give them a kick so that they fall over, but those are not many. The majority do nothing to them, just ignore them. Occasionally, when they are too groveling, it makes a man mad, and then he kicks them. If only they would not look at one so. What great misery can be in two such small spots, no bigger than a man's thumb in their eyes. Okay, I mangled that a lot. If only they would not look at one so. What great misery can be in two such small spots, no bigger than a man's thumb, in their eyes? Yeah, it's hard to look at someone who's suffering, I guess. Especially if you're in the group of people who have arguably caused that suffering, even if perhaps you were just following orders. They come over to the camp in the evenings and trade. They exchange whatever they possess for bread. Often they have fair success because they have very good boots and ours are bad. The leather of their knee boots is wonderfully soft and like suede. The peasants among us who get tidbits sent from home can afford to trade. The price of a pair of boots is about 2 or 3 loaves of army bread, or a loaf of bread and a small tough ham sausage. That's unfortunate because you only have so many boots. But most of the Russians have long since parted with whatever things they had. Now they wear only the most pitiful clothing and try to exchange little carvings and objects that they have made out of shell fragments and copper driving bands. Of course, they don't get much for such things. Though they have taken immense pains with them, they go for a slice or two of bread. Our peasants are hard and cunning when they bargain. They hold the piece of bread or sausage right under the nose of the Russian until he grows pale with greed and his eyes bulge, and then he'll give anything for it. The peasants wrap up their booty with the utmost solemnity, and then get out their big pocket knives and slowly and deliberately cut off a slice of bread for themselves from their supply, and with every mouthful take a piece of the good, tough sausage, and so reward themselves with a good feed. It is distressing to watch them take their afternoon meal thus. One would like to crack them over their thick plates. They rarely give anything away. How little we understand of one another. I am often on guard over the Russians. In the darkness one sees their forms move like 6 storks, like great birds. They come close up to the wire fence and lean their faces against it. Their fingers hook round the mesh. Often many stand side by side and breathe the wind that comes down from the moors and the forest. They rarely speak, and then only a few words. They are more human and more brotherly towards one another, it seems to me, than we are. But perhaps that is merely because they feel themselves to be more unfortunate than us. Anyway, the war is over so far as they are concerned. But to wait for dysentery is not much of a life either. The territorials who are in charge of them say they were much more lively at first. They used to have intrigues among themselves, as always happens, and it would often come to blows and knives. But now they are quite apathetic and listless. Most of them do not masturbate anymore. They are so feeble, though occasionally it is so bad that they do it in barracks fashion. Yeah, I don't want to reread that. They stand at the wire fence. Sometimes one goes away and then another at once takes his place in the line. Most of them are silent. Occasionally one begs for a cigarette butt. I see their dark forms. Their beards move in the wind. I know nothing of them except that they are prisoners, and that is exactly what troubles me. Their life is obscure and guiltless. If I could know more of them, what their names are, how they live, what they were waiting for, what are their burdens, and then my emotion would have an object and might become sympathy. But as it is, I perceive behind them only the suffering of the creature, the awful melancholy of life, and the pitilessness of men. A word of command has made these silent figures our enemies. A word of command might transform them into our friends. As some table, a document is signed by some persons whom none of us knows, and then for years together, that very crime in which formerly the world's condemnation and severest penalty fell becomes our highest aim. But who can draw such a distinction when he looks at these quiet men with their childlike faces and apostles' beards? Any commissioned officer is more of an enemy to a recruit, any schoolmaster to a pupil, than they are to us. And yet we would shoot at them again, and they at us, if they were free. I am frightened. I dare think this way no more. This way lies the abyss. It is not now the time, but I will not lose these thoughts. I will keep them, shut them away until the war is ended. My heart beats fast, and this is the aim, the sole aim that I have thought of in the trenches, that I have looked for as the only possibility of existence after this annihilation of all human feeling. This is a task that will make life afterward worthy of these hideous years. I take out my cigarettes, break each one in half, and give them to the Russians. They bow to me, and then they light the cigarettes. Now red points glow in every face. They comfort me. It looks as though there were little windows in dark village cottages, saying that behind them are rooms full of peace. The days go by. On a foggy morning, another of the Russians is buried. Almost every day one of them dies, and I am on guard during the burial. The prisoners sing a choral. They sing in parts, and it sounds almost as if there were no voices, but an organ far away on the moor. The burial is quickly over. In the evening they stand again at the wire fence, and the wind comes down to them from the beech woods. The stars are cold. I now know a few of those who speak a little German. There is a musician amongst them. He says he used to be a violinist in Berlin. When he hears that I can play the piano, he fetches his violin and plays. The others sit down and lean their backs against the fence. He stands up and plays. Sometimes he has that absent expression which violinists get when they close their eyes, or again he sways the instrument to the rhythm and smiles across to me. He plays mostly folk songs, and the others hum with him. They are like a country of dark hills that sing far down under the ground. The sound of the violin stands like a slender girl above it, and is clear and alone. The voices cease, and the violin continues alone. In the night, it is so thin it sounds frozen. One must stand close up. It would be much better in a room. Out here, it makes a man grow sad. Because I have already had a long leave, I get none on Sundays. So the last Sunday before I go back to the front, my father and eldest sister come over to see me. All day we sit in the soldiers' home. Where else could we go? We don't want to stay in the camp. About midday, we go for a walk on the moors. The hours are torture. We do not know what to talk about, so we speak of my mother's illness. It is now definitely cancer. She is already in the hospital and will be operated on shortly. The doctors hope she will recover, but we have never heard of cancer being cured. Where is she then? I ask. In the Louisa hospital, says my father. In which class? Third. We must wait till we know what the operation costs. She wanted to be in the third herself. She said that when she could have some company, and besides, it is cheaper. So she is laying there with all those people. If only she could sleep properly. My father nods. His face is broken and full of furrows. My mother has always been sickly, and though she has only gone to the hospital when she had been compelled to, it has cost a great deal of money, and my father's life has been practically given up to it. If only I knew how much the operation costs, says he. Have you not asked? Not directly. I cannot do that. The surgeon might take it amiss, and that would not do. He must operate on Mother. Yes, I think bitterly. That's how it is with us and with all poor people. They don't dare to ask the price, but worry themselves dreadfully beforehand about it. But the others, for whom it is not important, they settle the price first as a matter of course, and the doctor does not take it amiss from them. And the dressings afterwards are so expensive, says my father. Doesn't the Invalids' Fund pay anything toward it then? I asked. Mother has been ill too long. Have you any money at all? He shakes his head. No, but I can do some overtime. I know. He will stand at his desk folding and pasting and cutting until 12 o'clock at night. At 8 o'clock in the evening, he will eat some of the miserable rubbish they get in exchange for their food tickets. Then he will take a powder for his headache and work on. In order to cheer him up a bit, I tell him a few stories, soldiers' jokes and the like, about generals and sergeant majors. Afterwards, I accompany them both to the railway station. They give me a pot of jam and a bag of potato cakes that my mother has made for me. Then they go off and I return to the camp. In the evening, I spread the jam on the cakes and eat some, but I have no taste for them. So I go out to give them to the Russians. Then it occurs to me that my mother cooked them herself, and that she was probably in pain as she stood before the hot stove. I put the bag back in my pack and take only 2 cakes to the Russians. Chapter 9. We travel for several days. The first aeroplanes appear in the sky. We roll on past transport lines. Guns, guns. The light railway picks us up. I search for my regiment. No one knows exactly where it lies. Somewhere or other I put up for the night. Somewhere or other I receive provisions and a few vague instructions. And so with my pack and my rifle I set out again on the way. By the time I come up there no longer in that devastated place. I hear we have become one of the flying divisions that are pushed in wherever it is hottest. That does not sound cheerful to me. They tell me of heavy losses that we have been having. I inquire after Cat and Albert. No one knows anything of them. I search farther and wander about here and there. It is a wonderful feeling. One night and then another I camp out like a red Indian. That's racist, but given the book's time. Then at last I get some definite information. By the afternoon I am able to report to the orderly room. The sergeant major detains me there. The company comes back in 2 days' time. There is no object in sending me up now. What was it like on leave? He asks. Pretty good, eh? In parts, I say. Yes, he sighs. He sighs. That's what I do a lot. Yes. If a man didn't have to come away again, the second half is always rather messed up by that. I loaf around until the company comes back in the early morning, gray, dirty, soured, and gloomy. Then I jump up, push in amongst them, my eyes searching. There is Jaden, there is Mueller blowing his nose, and there are Cat and Crop. We arrange our sacks of straw side by side. I have an uneasy conscience when I look at them, and yet without any good reason. Before we turn in, I bring out the rest of the potato cakes and jam so that they can have some too. The 2 outer cakes are moldy. Still, it is possible to eat them. I keep those for myself and give the fresh ones to Cat and Crop. Cat chews and says, "These are from your mother." I nod. "Good," says he. "I can tell by the taste." It's like, probably can't tell what the taste is. I could almost weep. I could hardly control myself any longer, but it will soon be all right again back here with Cat and Albert. This is where I belong. "You've been lucky," whispers Crop to me before we drop off to sleep. "They say we are going to Russia." to Russia. It's not much of a war over there. In the distance, the front thunders. The walls of the hut rattle. There's a great deal of polishing being done. We are inspected at every turn. Everything that is torn is exchanged for new. I score a spotless new tunic out of it, and Cat, of course, an entire outfit. A rumor is going round that there may be peace, but the other story is more likely, that we are bound for Russia. Still, what do we need new things for in Russia? At last it leaks out. The Kaiser is coming to review us, hence all the inspections. For 8 whole days, one would suppose we are in a base camp. There is so much drill and fuss, everyone is peevish and touchy. We do not take kindly to all this polishing, much less to parades. Such things exasperate a soldier more than the front line. At last, the moment arrives. We stand up stiff, and the Kaiser appears. We are curious to see what he looks like. He stalks along the line, and I am really rather disappointed. Judging from his pictures, I imagine him to be bigger and more powerfully built, and above all, to have a thundering voice. He distributes iron crosses and speaks to this man and to that. Then we march off. Afterwards, we discuss it. Sidoen says with astonishment, "So that is the all highest, and everyone, bar nobody, has to stand up stiff in front of him." He meditates. "Hindenburg, too, he has to stand up stiff to him, eh?" "Sure," says Cat. Sidoen hasn't finished yet. He thinks for a while and then asks, "And would a king have to stand up stiff to an emperor?" None of us is quite sure about it, but we don't suppose so. They are both so exalted that standing strictly to attention is probably not insisted on. "What rot do you hatch out?" says Cat. "The main point is that you have to stand stiff yourself." But Sidoen is quite fascinated. His otherwise prosy fancy is blowing bubbles. "But look," he announces, "I simply can't believe that an emperor has to go to the latrine the same as I have. You can bet your boots on it." 4.5 wit makes 7, says Cat. "You've got a maggot in your brain, Sidoen. Just you run along to the latrine quick and get your head clear so that you don't talk like a 2-year-old. Sidoen disappears. "What I would like to know," says Albert, "is whether there would not have been a war if the Kaiser had said no." "I'm sure of this much," I interject. "He was against it from the first." "Well, if not him alone, then perhaps 20 or 30 people in the world had said no." "That's probable," I agree, "but they damned well said yes." "It's queer when one thinks about it," goes on Crop. "We are here to protect our fatherland, and the French over there to protect their fatherland. Now who's in the right?" "Perhaps both," say I, without believing it. "Yes, well now," pursues Albert, and I see that he means to drive me into a corner. "But our professors and parsons and newspapers say that we are the only ones that are right, and let's hope so. But the French professors and parsons and newspapers say that they say the right is on their side. Now what about that?" "That I don't know," I say. "But whichever way it is, there's a war all the same, and every month more countries coming in." Sidoen reappears. He is still quite excited and again joins the conversation, wondering just how a war gets started. That's a damn good question. "Mostly by one country badly offending another," answers Albert with a slight air of superiority. Then Sidoen pretends to be obtuse. "A country? I don't follow. A mountain in Germany cannot offend a mountain in France, or a river, or a wood, or a field of wheat." "Are you really as stupid as that, or are you just pulling my leg?" growls Crop. "I don't mean that at all. One people offends the other." "And I haven't any business here at all," replies Sidoen. "I don't feel myself offended." "Well, let me tell you," says Albert sourly, "it doesn't apply to tramps like you." "Then I can be going home right away," retorts Sidoen, and we all laugh. "Ach, man, He means the people as a whole, the state, exclaims Mueller. State, state, Jaden snaps his fingers contemptuously. What is that? Gendarmes, police, taxes, that's your state. If that's what you are talking about, no thank you. That's right, says Kat. You've said something for once to Jaden. State and home country, there's a big difference. But they go together, insists Crop. Without the state, there wouldn't be any home country. True, but just you consider almost all of us are simple folk. And in France, too, the majority of men are laborers, workmen, or poor clerks. Now, just why would a French blacksmith or a French shoemaker want to attack us? No, it is merely the rulers. I had never seen a Frenchman before I came here, and it will be just the same with the majority of Frenchmen as regards us. They weren't asked about it any more than we were. Then what exactly is the war for? Asks Jaden. This conversation makes a lot of sense. In a world where communication is much harder to come by than what we're familiar with. The internet has radically changed how information is disseminated. True, we have a lot of misinformation, but out there is also like somewhere is the truth too. And depending on who you listen to, you get versions of it and you can mix them together. But we know why wars are happening today. But these soldiers come from farming or like cobbling shoes or whatever, clerks. They don't have a clue what those in power are talking about or doing or what their goals are. They're just off to war. And they're going to go kill their counterparts from other countries for reasons. The reason is they were told to. Then what exactly is the war for? Asks Jaden. Cat shrugs his shoulders. There must be some people to whom the war is useful. Well, I'm not one of them, grins to Jaden. Not you, nor anybody else here. Who are they then? Persists Jaden. It isn't any use to the Kaiser either. He has everything he can want already. I'm not so sure about that, contradicts Cat. He has not had a war up till now, and every full-grown emperor requires at least one war, otherwise he wouldn't become famous. You look in your school books. And generals too, added Dettering. They become famous through war. Even more famous than emperors, adds Cat. There are other people back behind there who profit by the war, that's certain, growls Dettering. I think it is more a kind of fever, says Albert. No one in particular wants it. And then all at once, there it is. We didn't want the war. The others say the same thing, yet half the world is in it all the same. Oh, there are some that want it. But there are more lies told by the other side than by us, say I. Just think of those pamphlets the prisoners have on them, where it says that we eat Belgian children. The fellows who write that ought to go and hang themselves. They are the real culprits. Propaganda machine. Mueller gets up. Anyway, it is better that the war is here instead of in Germany. Just you take a look at the shell holes. True, assents to Jaden, but no war at all would be better still. He is quite proud of himself because he has for once scored over us volunteers. And his opinion is quite typical here. One meets it time and again, and there is nothing with which one can properly counter it, because that is the limit of their comprehension of the factors involved. The national feeling of the Tommy resolves itself into this. Here he is. But that is the end of it. Everything else from joining up onwards he criticizes from a practical point of view. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah. It's about greed and ego and money. Well, greed for power, ego, and money. I'm constantly reminded of military industrial the military industries, the death merchants, if you will, those who sell weaponry. Especially in the world wars, they made a lot of money. America especially made a lot of money selling to both sides of the wars before they got involved. And they love the fact that a war exists, that people are out there killing themselves. It makes them a lot of money, and that's more important to them. I think back in this day and age, capturing and holding territory was still a thing, right? So wanting more land for yourselves, for resources, what was probably still a good motivator or an excuse to go to war to like hate and kill others. I think a lot more wars today are about hate. There's still a lot of hate back then too. Like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stop. I don't remember the details of the history, and I'm certainly not going to say that we are more or less hateful in this day and age, as a people, as a species. Where was I? Oil and rare earth. Yeah, like I said, like my brain started turning over the details, and I realized, yeah, no. I was speaking about the first few thoughts I had, and then the second few thoughts I had contradicted the first few thoughts. I'm like, no, it's always the same shit. Back to more exactly, like, so as you said in the beginning, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's about resources. We just have different requirements in this day and age. We need computer pieces and computer bits and pieces, and more so today than in the past. I see. Albert lies down in the grass and growls angrily. The best thing is not to talk about the rotten business. Actually, no. It is good to talk about it. It's important to talk about it. It won't make any difference, that's sure, agrees Cat. As for the windfall, we have to return almost all the new things and take back our old rags again. The good ones were merely for the inspection. Oh, that's bullshit. That is such, that is, yeah, basically big F you. Oh, holy fuck. Not even gonna have them have a few scraps. Yeah. Oh, that's instead of going to Russia, we go up the line again. On the way, we pass through a devastated wood with the tree trunks shattered and the ground plowed up. At several places, there are tremendous craters. Great guns, something's hit that, I say to Cat. Trench mortars, he replies, and then points up at one of the trees. In the branches, dead men are hanging. A naked soldier is squatting in the fork of a tree. He still has his helmet on, otherwise he is entirely unclad. There is only half of him sitting up there. The top half. The legs are missing. What can that mean, I ask. He's been blown out of his clothes, muttered to Jaden. It's funny, says Cat. We have seen that a couple of times now. If a mortar gets you, it blows you almost clean out of your clothes. It's the concussion that does it. I searched around, and so it is. Here hang bits of uniform, and somewhere else is a plastered, bloody mess that was once a human limb. Over there lays a body with nothing but a piece of the underpants on one leg and the collar of the tunic around its neck. Otherwise, it is naked, and the clothes are hanging up in the tree. Both arms are missing as though they had been pulled out. I discover one of them 20 yards off in a shrub. The dead man lies on his face. There, where the arm wounds are, the earth is black with blood. Underfoot the leaves are scratched up as though the man had been kicking. That's no joke, Cat, say I. No more is a shell splinter in the belly, he replies, shrugging his shoulders. But don't get tender-hearted, says to Jaden. All this can only have happened a little while ago. The blood is still fresh. As everybody we see there is dead, we do not waste any more time, but report the affair at the next stretcher-bearer's post. After all, it is not our business to take these stretcher-bearers' jobs away from them. A patrol has to be sent out to discover just how far the enemy position is advanced. Since my leave, I felt a certain strange attachment to the other fellows, and so I volunteered to go with them. We agree on a plan, slip out through the wire, and then divide and creep forward separately. After a while, I find a shallow shell hole and crawl into it. From here, I peer forward. There is moderate machine gun fire. It sweeps across from all directions. Not very heavy, but always sufficient to make one keep down. A parachute star shell opens out. The ground lies stark in the pale light, and then the darkness shuts down again, blacker than ever. In the trenches, we were told there are black troops in front of us. That is nasty. It is hard to see them. They are very good at patrolling too, and oddly enough, they are often quite stupid. For instance, both Cat and Crop were once able to shoot down a black enemy patrol because the fellows, in their enthusiasm for cigarettes, smoked while they were creeping about. Oh, that is stupid. Cat and Albert had simply to aim at the glowing ends of the cigarettes. Why would you do that? I'm going to go to all this trouble to make myself completely black in the dark, crawling along the ground because being seen is bad, and then paint a literal bullseye on my face. Seems ultra dumb. Stress and addiction? Yeah, but dumb. Very dumb. I'm so glad I don't live in that era. A bomb or something lands close beside me. I have not heard it coming, and I am terrified. At the same moment, a senseless fear takes hold of me. Here, I am alone and almost helpless in the dark. Perhaps two other eyes have been watching me for a long while from another shell hole in front of me, and a bomb lies ready to blow me to pieces. I try to pull myself together. It is not my first patrol, and not a particularly risky one, but it is the first since my leave, and besides, the lay of the land is still rather strange to me. I tell myself that my alarm is absurd, that there is probably nothing at all there in the darkness watching me, because otherwise the missile would not have landed so flat. It is in vain. The whirling confusion my thoughts hum in my brain. I hear the warning voice of my mother. I see the Russians with their flowing beards leaning against the wire fence. I have a bright picture of a canteen with stools, of a cinema in Valenciennes. Oh no, my brain's so close to this one. Valenciennes. I'm going to do the thing where I copy paste the stuff. Pro notes. Valenciennes. Hang on. Here. Valenciennes. It's a Valenciennes. Okay. Of a cinema in Valenciennes, tormented, terrified. In my imagination, I see the gray, impalpable muzzle of a rifle which moves noiselessly before me, whichever way I try to turn my head. The sweat breaks out from every pore. I still continue to lie in my shallow bowl. I look at the time. Only a few minutes have passed. My forehead is wet. The sockets of my eyes are damp. My hands tremble, and I am panting softly. It is nothing but an awful spasm of fear, a simple animal fear of poking out my head and crawling on farther. All my efforts subside like froth into the one desire to be able just to stay laying there. My limbs are glued to the earth. I make a vain attempt. They refuse to come away. I press myself down on the earth. I cannot go forward. I make up my mind to stay lying there. But immediately the wave floods over me anew, a mingled sense of shame, of remorse, and yet at the same time of security. I raise myself up a little to take a look around. My eyes burn with staring into the dark. A star shell goes up. I duck down again. I wage a wild and senseless fight. I want to get out of the hollow and yet slide back into it again. I say, "You must. It is your comrades. It is not any idiotic command." And again, what does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose. That is the result of all this leave, I reproach myself bitterly. But I cannot convince myself. I become terribly faint. I raise myself slowly and reach forward with my arms, dragging my body after me, and then lie on the edge of the shell hole, half in and half out. There I hear sounds and drop back. Suspicious sounds can be detected clearly despite the noise of the artillery fire. I listen. The sound is behind me. There are people moving along the trench. Now I hear muffled voices. To judge by the tone, that might be Cat talking. At once, a new warmth flows through me. These voices, these few quiet words, these footsteps in the trench behind me recall me at a bound from the terrible loneliness and fear of death by which I had been almost destroyed. They are more to me than life, these voices. They are more than motherliness and more than fear. They are the strongest, most comforting thing there is. They are the voices of my comrades. I am no longer a shuddering speck of existence, alone in the darkness. I belong to them and they to me. We all share the same fear and the same life. We are nearer than lovers, in a simpler, a harder way. I can bury my face in them, in these voices, these words that have saved me and will stand by me. I cautiously glide out over the edge and snake my way forward. I shuffle along on all fours a bit farther. I keep track of my bearings. I look around me and observe the distribution of the gunfire so as to be able to find my way back. Then I try to get in touch with the others. I am still afraid, but it is an intelligent fear, an extraordinarily heightened caution. The night is windy. The shadows flit hither and thither in the flicker of the gunfire. It reveals too little and too much. Often I peer ahead, but always for nothing. Thus I advance a long way and then turn back in a wide curve. I have not established touch with the others. Every yard near our trench fills me with confidence, and with haste too. It would be bad to get lost now. Then a new fear lays hold of me. I can no longer remember the direction. Quiet. I squat in a shell hole and try to locate myself. More than once it has happened that some fellow has jumped joyfully into a trench, only then to discover that it was the wrong one. After a little time I listen again, but still I am not sure. The confusion of shell holes now seems so bewildering that I can no longer tell in my agitation which way I should go. Perhaps I am crawling parallel to the lines, and that might go on forever. So I crawl round once again in a wide curve. These damned rockets. They seem to burn for an hour, and a man cannot make the least movement without bringing the bullets whistling around. But there is nothing for it. I must get out. Falteringly, I work my way farther. I move off over the ground like a crab and rip my hands sorely on the jagged splinters, as sharp as razor blades. Often I think that the sky is becoming lighter on the horizon, but it may be merely my imagination. Then gradually I realize that to crawl in the right direction is a matter of life or death. A shell crashes. Almost immediately 2 others, and then it begins in earnest. A bombardment, machine guns rattle. Now there's nothing for it to stay lying low. Oh, Sage, you're gonna have to take a shower. That's unfortunate. Get out the wipes, friend. You're too damn stinky. Oh, Gwen is helping you. She's helping you, yes. A bombardment. Machine guns rattle. Now there is nothing for it but to stay laying low. Apparently an attack is coming. Everywhere the rockets shoot up unceasing. I lie huddled in a large shell hole, my legs in the water up to the belly. When the attack starts, I will let myself fall into the water, with my face as deep in the mud as I can keep it without suffocating. I must pretend to be dead. Suddenly, I hear the barrage lift. At once, I slip down into the water, my helmet on the nape of my neck and my mouth just clear so that I can get a breath of air. I lie motionless. Somewhere, something clinks. It stamps and stumbles near. All my nerves become taut and icy. It clatters over me and away. The first wave has passed. I have but this one shattering thought. What will you do if someone jumps into your shell hole? Swiftly I pull out my little dagger, grasp it fast and bury it in my hand once again under the mud. If anyone jumps in here, I'll go for him. It hammers in my forehead. At once, stab him clean through the throat so that he cannot call out. That's the only way. He will be just as frightened as I am. When in terror we fall upon one another, then I must be first. Now our batteries are firing. A shell lands near me. That makes me savage with fury. All that needs now is to be killed by our own shells. I curse and grind my teeth in the mud. It is a ravaging frenzy. In the end, all I can do is groan and pray. The crash of the shells bursts in my ears. If our fellows make a counter raid, I will be saved. I press my head against the earth and listen to the muffled thunder, like the explosions of quarrying, and raise it again to listen for the sounds on top. The machine guns rattle. I know our barbed wire entanglements are strong and almost undamaged. Parts of them are charged with a powerful electric current. The rifle fire increases. They have not broken through. They have not to retreat. They have to retreat. I sink down again, huddled, strained to the uttermost. The banging, the creeping, the clinging becomes audible. One single cry yelling amongst it all. They are raked with fire. The attack is repulsed. We're going to take an ad break here. Like 4 minutes away, so it's not too far off. It's a good break point in the story. Well, it's a cliffhanger, I guess. We'll be back soon. All right, welcome back. Hello. Thank you for the lurk, Lily. All right, we shall proceed. Already it has become somewhat lighter. Steps hastened over me. The first gone. Again another. The rattle of the machine guns becomes an unbroken chain. Just as I am about to turn round a little, something heavy stumbles, and with a crash, a body falls over me into the shell hole, slips down, and lies across me. Of course, there has to be a hydrate from Lily. All right, here we go. Yeah, no choking this time. Excellent. Yes, I'll try not to choke, despite my incredibly wise decision to do Slurpee hydrates. I do not think at all. I make no decision. I strike madly home. I feel only how the body suddenly convulses, then becomes limp and collapses. When I recover myself, my hand is sticky and wet. The man gurgles. It sounds to me as though he bellows. Every gasping breath is like a cry, a thunder, but it is only my heart pounding. Yes, enjoy the shelves. Sticky and wet. Yeah, it's blood, Lily. It's blood. Where was I? I want to stop his mouth, stuff it with earth, stab him again. He must be quiet. He is betraying me. Now, at last, I regain control of myself, but I have suddenly become so feeble that I cannot any more lift my hand against him. So I crawl away to the farthest corner and stay there, my eyes glued on him, my hand grasping the knife, ready if he stirs, to spring at him again. But he won't do so anymore. I can hear that already in his gurgling. I can see him indistinctly. I have but one desire, to get away. If it is not soon, it will be too light. It will be difficult enough now. Then, as I try to raise my head, try to raise up my head, I see it is impossible already. The machine gun fire so sweeps the ground that I would be shot through and through before I could make one jump. I test it once with my helmet, which I take off and hold up to find out the level of the shots. The next moment it is knocked out of my hand by a bullet. The fire is sweeping very low over the ground. I am not far enough from the enemy line to escape being picked off by one of the snipers if I attempt to get away. The light increases. Burning, I wait for our attack. My hands are white at the knuckles. I clench them so tightly in my longing for the fire to cease that my comrades may come. Minute after minute trickles away. I dare not look again at the dark figure in the shell hole. With an effort I look past it and wait. Wait. The bullets hiss. They make a steel net, never ceasing. Never ceasing. Then I notice my bloody hand and suddenly feel nauseated. I take some earth and rub the skin with it. Now my hand is muddy and the blood cannot be seen anymore. The fire does not diminish. It is equally heavy from both sides. Our fellows have probably given me up for lost long ago. It is early morning, clear and gray. The gurgling continues. I stop my ears but soon take my fingers away again, because then I cannot hear the other sound. The figure opposite me moves. I shrink together and involuntarily look at it. Then my eyes remain glued to it. A man with a small pointed beard lies there. His head is fallen to one side. One arm is half bent. His head rests helplessly upon it. The other hand lies on his chest. It is bloody. He is dead, I say to myself. He must be dead. He doesn't feel anything anymore. It is only the body that is gurgling there. And the head tries to raise itself. For a moment the groaning becomes louder. His forehead sinks back upon his arm. The man is not dead. He is dying. But he is not dead. I drag myself toward him, hesitate, support myself on my hands, creep a bit farther, wait. Again a terrible journey of 3 yards, a terrible journey. At last I am beside him. And he opens his eyes. He must have heard me and gazes at me with a look of utter terror. The body lies still, but in the eyes there is such an extraordinary expression of flight that for a moment I think they have the power enough to carry the body off with them. Hundreds of miles away with one bound. The body is still, perfectly still, without sound. The gurgle has ceased, but the eyes cry out. yell, all the life is gathered together in them for one tremendous effort to flee. Gathered together, they're in a dreadful terror of death. Of me. My legs give way, and I drop on my elbows. No, no, I whisper. The eyes follow me. I am powerless to move so long as they are there. Then his hand slips slowly from his breast, only a little bit. It sinks just a few inches, but this movement breaks the power of the eyes. I bend forward, shake my head, and whisper, "No, no, no." I raise one hand. I must show him that I want to help him. I stroke his forehead. The eyes shrink back as the hand comes, then they lose their stare. The eyelids droop lower. The tension is past. I open his collar, then place his head more comfortably upright. His mouth stands half open. It tries to form words. The lips are dry. My water bottle is not there. I have not brought it with me, but there is water in the mud, down at the bottom of the crater. I climb down, take out my handkerchief, spread it out, push it under, and scoop up the yellow water that strains through into the hollow of my hand. He gulps it down. I fetch some more. Then I unbutton his tunic in order to bandage him, if it is possible. In any case, I must do it, so that if the fellows over there capture me, they will see that I wanted to help him, and so will not shoot me. He tries to resist, but his hand is too feeble. The shirt is stuck and will not come away. It is buttoned at the back, so there is nothing for it but to be cut off. I look for the knife and find it again. But when I begin to cut the shirt, the eyes open once more, and the cry is in them again, and the demented expression, so that I must close them. Press them shut and whisper, "I want to help you. Comrade, 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 comrade." Eagerly, repeating the word to make him understand. There are 3 stabs. My field dressing covers them. The blood runs out under it. I press it tighter. There. He groans. That is all I can do. Now we must wait. Wait. I don't think a bandage is going to help there. These hours, the gurgling starts again. But how slowly a man dies. For this I know, he cannot be saved. Indeed, I have tried to tell myself that he will be, but at noon, this pretense breaks down and melts before his groans. If only I had not lost my revolver crawling about, I would shoot him. Stab him I cannot. By noon, I am groping on the outer limits of reason. Hunger devours me. I can almost weep for something to eat. I cannot struggle against it. Again and again I fetch water for the dying man and drink some myself. This is the first man I have killed with my hands, whom I can see close at hand, whose death is my doing. Cat and Krop and Mueller have experienced it already. When they have hit someone, it happens to many in hand-to-hand fighting especially. But every gasp lays my heart bare. This dying man has time with him. He has an invisible dagger with which he stabs me. Time and my thoughts. I would give much if he would but stay alive. It is hard to lie here and to have to see and hear him. In the afternoon, about 3, he is dead. I breathe freely again, but only for a short time. Soon the silence is more unbearable than the groans. I wish the gurgling were there again, gasping, hoarse, now whistling softly and again hoarse and loud. It is mad what I do, but I must do something. I prop the dead man up again so that he lies comfortably, although he feels nothing any more. I close his eyes. They are brown. His hair is black and a bit curly at the sides. The mouth is full and soft beneath his mustache. The nose is slightly arched, the skin brownish. It is now not so pale as it was before, when he was still alive. For a moment the face seems almost healthy. Then it collapses suddenly into the strange face of the dead that I have so often seen. Strange faces all alike. No doubt his wife still thinks of him. She does not know what has happened. He looks as if he would often have written to her. She will still be getting mail from him, tomorrow, in a week's time, perhaps even a stray letter a month hence. She will read it, and in it he will be speaking to her. My state is getting worse. I can no longer control my thoughts. What would his wife look like? Like the little brunette on the other side of the canal? Does she belong to me now? Perhaps by this act she becomes mine. I wish Kantarek were sitting here beside me. If my mother could see me. The dead man might have 30 more years of life. The dead man might have had 30 more years of life, if only I had impressed the way back. If I had impressed the way back to our trench more sharply on my memory. If only he had run 2 yards farther to the left, he might now be sitting in the trench over there and writing a fresh letter to his wife. But I will get no further that way, for that is the fate of all of us. If Kemmerich leg had been 6 inches to the right, if I, Westless, had bent his back 3 inches further forward. The silence spreads. I talk and must talk. So I speak to him and said to him, "Comrade, I do not want to kill you. If you jumped in here again, I would not do it, if you would be sensible too. But you were only an idea to me before, an abstraction that lived in my mind and called forth its appropriate response. It was that abstraction I stabbed. But now, for the first time, I see you are a man like me. I thought of your hand grenades, of your bayonet, of your rifle. Now I see your wife and your face and our fellowship. Forgive me, comrade. We always see it too late. Why do they never tell us that you are just poor devils like us, that your mothers are just as anxious as ours, and that we have the same fear of death and the same dying and the same agony? Forgive me, comrade. How could you be my enemy? If we threw away these rifles and this uniform, you could be my brother, just like Kat and Albert. Take 20 years of my life, comrade, and stand up. Take more. For I do not know what I can even attempt to do with it now." It is quiet. The front is still except for the crackle of rifle fire. The bullets rain over. They are not fired haphazard, but shrewdly aimed from all sides. I cannot get out. "I will write to your wife," I say hastily to the dead man. "I will write to her. She must hear it from me. I will tell her everything I have told you. She shall not suffer. I will help her, and your parents too, and your child." His tunic is half open. The pocketbook is easy to find, but I hesitate to open it. In it is the book with his name. So long as I do not know his name, perhaps I may still forget him. Time will obliterate it, this picture, but his name, it is a nail that will be hammered into me and never come out again. It has the power to recall this forever. It will always come back and stand before me. Irresolutely, I take the wallet in my hand. It slips out of my hand and falls open. Some pictures and letters drop out. I gather them up and want to put them back again, but the strain I am under, the uncertainty, the hunger, the danger, these hours with the dead man have confused me. I want to hasten the relief, to intensify and to end the torture. As one strikes an unendurably painful hand against the trunk of a tree regardless of everything. There are portraits of a woman and a little girl, small amateur photographs taken against an ivy-clad wall. Along with them are letters. I take them out and try to read them, Most of it I do not understand. It is so hard to decipher, and I know scarcely any French. But each word I translate pierces me like a shot in the chest, like a stab in the chest. My brain is taxed beyond endurance, but I realize this much, that I will never dare to write these people as I intended. Impossible. I look at the portraits once more. They are clearly not rich people. I might send them money anonymously if I earn anything later on. I seize upon that it is at least something to hold on to. This dead man is bound up with my life. Therefore I must do everything, promise everything in order to save myself. I swear blindly that I mean to live only for his sake and his family. With wet lips I try to placate him. And deep down in me lies the hope that I may buy myself off in this way and perhaps even yet get out of this. It is a little stratagem. If only I am allowed to escape, then I will see to it. So I open the book and read slowly. Gerard Duval, compositor. Gwen incoming. Thanks for the warning. I see a little furry body out in the hallway, yes, in the reflection of the door. With the dead man's pencil, I write the address on an envelope, then swiftly thrust everything back into his tunic. I have killed a printer, Gerald Duval. I must be a printer, I think confusedly. Be a printer. Printer. By afternoon, I am calmer. My fear was groundless. The name troubles me no more. The madness passes. Comrade, I say to the dead man, but I say it calmly. Today you, tomorrow me. But if I come out of it, comrade, I will fight against this. That has struck us both down. From you, taken life, and from me, life also. I promise you, comrade, it shall never happen again. The sun strikes low. I am stupefied with exhaustion and hunger. Yesterday is like a fog to me. There is no hope of getting out of this yet. I fall into a doze and do not at first realize that evening is approaching. The twilight comes. It seems to me to come quickly now. 1 hour more. If it were summer, it would be 3 hours more. 1 hour more. And I have a furry body against me. Hi, Quinn. Of course, she brought the ball. Yes, you did. Okay, ready? Well, that failed. The ball bounced around the door frame and landed at her feet. It was not very exciting at all. And she's off. Expect we'll do that. Here she comes back. She's bringing the ball back now. I guess it's a Gwen break. Sorry. Are you going to bring me the ball? Are you going to drop way over there? Okay. Last time. Last time. I fucked up the throw again. That's fine. Alright. Okay. Oh dear, where was I? Now suddenly I begin to tremble. Something might happen in the interval. I think no more of the dead man. He is of no consequence to me now. With one bound, the lust to live flares up again, and everything that has filled my thoughts goes down before it. Now, merely to avert any ill luck, I babble mechanically. I will fulfill everything I have promised you. But already I know that I shall not do so. Suddenly, it occurs to me that my own comrades may fire on me as I creep up. They do not know I am coming. I will call out as soon as I can so that they will recognize me. I will stay lying in the front of the trench until they answer me. The first star. The front remains quiet. I breathe deeply and talk to myself in my excitement. No foolishness now, Paul. Quiet, Paul, quiet. Then you will be saved, Paul. When I use my Christian name, it works as though someone else spoke to me. It has more power. A clever girl brought the ball back. Where were we? He was saying Paul. The darkness grows. My excitement subsides. I wait cautiously until the first rocket goes up. Then I crawl out to the shell hole. I have forgotten the dead man. Before me lies on the oncoming night and the pale gleaming field. I fix my eye on a shell hole. The moment the light dies, I scurry over into it, grope farther, spring into the next, duck down, scramble onward. I come near. There, by the light of a rocket, I see something move in the wire. Then it stiffens and lies still. Next time I see it again. Yes, they are men from our trench. But I am suspicious until I recognize our helmets. Then I call, and immediately an answer rings out. My name. Paul. Paul? I call again and answer. It is Kat and Albert who have come out with a stretcher to look for me. Are you wounded? No. She's playing by my feet now. We drop into the trench. I ask for something to eat and wolf it down. Mueller gives me a cigarette. In a few words, I tell what happened. There is nothing new about it. It happens quite often. The night attack is the only usual feature of the business. In Russia, Kat once lay for 2 days behind enemy lines before he could make his way back. I do not mention the dead printer. But by next morning, I can keep it to myself no longer. I must tell Kat and Albert. They both try to calm me. You can't do anything about it. What else could you have done? That is what you are here for. I listen to them and feel comforted, reassured by their presence. It was mere driveling nonsense that I talk about out there in the shell hole. Look there, for instance, points Kat. On the fire step stand some snipers. They rest their rifles with telescopic sights on the parapet and watch the enemy front. Once and again a shot cracks out. Then we hear the cry, "That's found a billet. Did you see how he leapt in the air?" Sergeant Erich turns around proudly and scores his point. He heads the shooting list for today with 3 unquestionable hits. What do you say to that? Asks Kat. I nod. If he keeps that up, he'll get a little colored bird for his buttonhole by this evening, says Albert. Or rather, he will soon be made acting sergeant major, says Kat. We look at one another. I would not do it, I say. All the same, says Kat. It's very good for you to see it just now. Sergeant Ulrich returns to the fire step. The muzzle of his rifle searches to and fro. You don't need to lose any more sleep over your affair, nods Albert. And now, I hardly understand it myself anymore. It was only because I had to lie there with him so long, I say. After all, war is war. Ulrich's rifle cracks out sharp and dry. I think we're going to end there. I don't trust the chapters in this book anymore. That is the end of the chapter 9. The last time we have a little bit of time left. We're going to read another chapter. It took like an hour and a half to finish. And let's see, we're at chapter 10. Well, I'll scroll a little bit, see how long it is. Yeah, I'm still scrolling. Scrolling. Yeah, we're not reading this. Too big. And then chapter 11. So we will have 2 chapters probably. Chapter 12 looks like there's in this chapter 12 is a super short one. Super short one. All right. Next stream, next Monday, we will read the last 3 chapters, and then we might start the next book. So I will be prepared for that this time. Yes. And I am now trying to scroll back up to where I was with the page up button. Oh, there we go. I had it highlighted. Yes. I'm sure I'll mess this up. But chapter 10 we will start on Monday. Yes. Very good. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll see if we can't find an appropriate raid target to take everyone to. This is a hell of a book. I don't dislike this book. I think I've said that before. I don't think we've done very many things or learned many newer things. I think the most dramatic things we heard tonight were the most poignant parts, I suppose. Let's put it that way. His sense of separation when he went home. And now this experience of him killing a man and recognizing that it's a man and not a uniform with a gun trying to kill him. Right? That there are humans fighting this war, not just empty soldiers or this empty concept of a non-human soldier. I know a lot of wars in the past have taught their soldiers that they don't fight humans, they fight animals, they fight pigs or whatever, right? And they dehumanize the enemy, and that's how they, as one of the tactics used by authorities to convince people to do things they wouldn't normally do to other humans. Yeah, there's a bit of a callback to his father asking, have you fought hand to hand? Yeah, but his dad would be like, his dad's probably thinking fist fight and you win. And his brain's probably not going to process more than that, even if he understands logically it would result in death for the other person. He probably wouldn't even consider that his son would die in this fist fight. Or if he did, it would be a shame. Like how dare you lose a fight against the weak, pitiful enemy, which I'm sure the propaganda has painted for him. But of course we get that here, and it's not a glorious fist fight. It was a desperate stab out of fear and terror in a dark night full of shells and machine gun fire. Yeah, a terrified urge to live. And then a lot of regret. And then finding ways to compartmentalize that regret and put it away. Hopefully forever, I suppose. Making little promises to yourself to make up for what you've done and how you feel about what you've done. No wonder this shit comes back to bite everyone in the ass later on, right? But let's see, hopefully someone is reading a nicer story. The thing with this category is this writing and reading. So there's a lot of, writing projects. Oh, there's a person who's writing other people's stories. That might be not too bad. Yeah, I'm seeing that. We might raid Cryptic. It's been a hot minute since we've seen her. We've done her a few times in the past. Raiding. We raided her a few times in the past. Yes. Yeah, okay.